What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
8BH. Chapter 181 Test, Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken. 2 more. Advertisement. Hefeng turned out to be, really added chakra attribute changes in Helix Maru. Risen and Danzo were stunned. Although their current strength is far from the time, but how difficult it is to inject attribute changes into the spiral pill. They still understand. This is far from simple as it sounds. The scariest thing is, Hefeng is only 7 years old this year. For Hefeng, is there really anything that can stump him? Rizan felt that he was about to be numb by the shock of Hefeng. Danzo cast envy, jealousy and hatred at Hefeng too. As one of the few ninjas in Konoha hidden village who use wind dun. Danzo is very clear about how exaggerated Japanese ninjutsu is. It is no exaggeration to say that in the wind ninjutsu that Danzo saw, the gentle wind escape spiral shuriken is one of the most amazing. Hefeng really managed to inject attribute changes into the spiral pill. He took a breath, and his heart was extremely shocked. He has always known that Hefeng is a genius. It's a monster. No matter how difficult ninjutsu is, he can easily learn it. However, he never thought of it. I just put forward an idea. Hefeng really follows this idea. Added attribute changes to the spiral pill. This is too ridiculous. How exaggerated is Hefeng's talent? Also, the use of the shadow clone technique. It took a lot of effort to suppress many emotions. Just when the wind used the ninjutsu of the wind escape spiral shuriken, I noticed. The wind gathers the chakras in the palm of the hand and rotates in irregular directions. And his shadow clone is responsible for injecting attribute changes into the spiral pill. This kind of thing is equivalent to how a person can look at the right while looking at the left. This would have been impossible. As a result, Hefeng used the characteristics of shadow clone forcibly. I did it while looking to the left, but at the same time I was able to look to the right. Although from the final result, Hefeng is only giving full play to the role of the entity clone, but those who can think of this method and use this method to complete ninjutsu. How many can there be? Anyway, I didn't expect it. He also didn't think that besides the gentle wind in Konoha hidden village, anyone else could think of this method. The most important is, advertisement. Hefeng is only 7 years old. The mind and thinking are so sharp. If you give him some more time. I really don't know how terrible ninjutsu he can develop. And, this chakra of ninjutsu. This is the first time I have seen such a high density compression of chakras ninjutsu. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would have imagined that a 7-year-old? Thinking of this, Jian couldn't help but shook his head. He felt that at this point, age was no longer the biggest issue. The real problem is species. Yes it is. From the perspective of Fenjian, this is no longer a ninjutsu that humans can develop. This is simply a monster. Correct. Hefeng seemed to suddenly think of something, turned his head to look at his shadow clone, and then made a gesture. Although I just wanted to see if I could actually add attribute changes to the spiral pill, anyway, he used the wind escape spiral shuriken. Hefeng would really like to test it. Is my current body able to withstand the damage caused by Fengdun Helix Maru shuriken? As a result, he has the ability of Muji to heal, and his resilience is stronger than Naruto's body. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. Secondly, although Naruto was damaged in the original work, once in a while, the impact was not significant. Thirdly, Hefeng wants to try it too. How powerful is his wind escape spiral shuriken? In any case, the power of ninjutsu depends on the amount of chakra. For example, the arrogance of B-level ninjutsu is quenched. In the hands of ordinary ninjas, it is a very ordinary fire escape. But in the hands of Uchiha Madara, good guys, I don't know if this is an S-rank fire escape ninjutsu. So, under the whim of Hefeng, his shadow clone rushed out quickly, and then patted with both hands. The whole earth began to vibrate. Large and small vines protrude from the ground and entangle together at a speed visible to the naked eye, forming a tall wood giant. It's just the art of the wooden man. The three of them blinked at the door, Risen and Danzo. They didn't react for a while, and they used Mudun to do what they wanted to do in a good manner. Immediately afterwards, the sound of Hefeng's body rang in their ears. Stay back. The next second, Hefeng kicked his feet and jumped out of the spot. However, when he inadvertently glanced at the passing room, an aura flashed in his mind, stretched out his free left hand, and patted his shoulder lightly. Then, advertisement. Hefeng took the wind escape spiral shuriken in his hand and pressed it on the wooden man. The art of flying thunder god. At the moment when Feng Dun's spiral shuriken exploded, Hefeng decisively launched flying thunder god and flashed to the side of Feijian. Even he himself found it incredible. Yes it is. Just now when Hefeng patted his shoulders, he left the technique of flying thunder god. Yes, I have the art of flying thunder god. What energy storm I am afraid of. Hefeng himself couldn't help but complain about himself. Why have you forgotten the art of flying thunder god that you have learned? As long as there is a ninjutsu. Even if there is no fairy mode, he wouldn't be hurt by the wind dun spiral shuriken either. Rumble. The wind escape spiral shuriken collided strongly with the wooden man, becoming larger and larger, and finally exploded completely, forming a bright energy storm. Enveloping the entire wooden man completely. The air of horror spread out in all directions and swept here. Just this shock uprooted countless big trees. It is no exaggeration that the gentle wind escape spiral shuriken is better than Naruto's battle angle. It's even more tyrannical. Thousands of hands. Sarutobi recut. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Shimura Danzo. It now appears that it is an increase of several hundred times. Only in the ninjutsu of Helix Maru, injecting changes in the attributes of the wind escape. Originally, I felt that this ninjutsu only increased the power of Xuanluan several times, dozens of times. Who can believe this kind of thing? No one thought of it. And such a terrible ninjutsu turned out to be from the hands of the wind. No one thought of the new technique developed by Hefeng. Unbelievable, this turned out to be ninjutsu. The destructive power can be described as shocking. What is even more amazing is that the energy storm formed by the wind escape spiral shuriken lasted for half a minute before it gradually faded. Yes, it is. And the area shrouded by it, there is nothing left. Produce such a huge power. All three of them were attracted by the storm of energy produced by the wind escape spiral shuriken. There is such an amazing power. Advertisement. Chapter 182. Have you heard of Miamu Mountain? 3 more. Advertisement. The gentle breeze looked straight ahead, and only the bare ground came into view. What kind of ninjutsu is there? This is simply a small mushroom bomb. The 7-8 meter wooden man was directly crushed into several pieces by the wind escape spiral shuriken, and flew out from the original place, turning into wreckage. Such astonishing power, so he didn't even think of it. Although I now master the wooden escape technique, as long as I tap with my hands, I can create wooden men and wooden dragons. But in terms of the destructive power of ninjutsu, the technique of the wooden man and the technique of the wooden dragon cannot be compared with the wind escape spiral shuriken. It is no exaggeration to say that Hefeng feels that this hand of wind escape spiral shuriken should be his strongest ninjutsu at the moment. And he has amazing discoveries. That is, the only flaw of the wind escape spiral shuriken. Rather, it was the only flaw before learning the fairy model. It was perfectly evaded by the teleportation of the flying thunder god technique by himself. Hefeng raised his right hand and lowered his head at the same time. Not to mention the right hand, even Haori's sleeves are intact. From this point of view, it is enough to prove that before the wind escape spiral shuriken produced an energy storm, he successfully escaped. Very perfect. Even this reminds Hefeng of the battle between Bo Feng Shui Men and the masked man. With his flexible mind, Bo Feng Shuiman analyzed the abilities of the masked man. Then, at the moment of the fight, he used the technique of Flying Thunder God to drop the spiral pill to attack the opponent. If at that time the Hefeng Water Gate did not use the spiral pill, but the Fengdun spiral shuriken. Just thinking about it, Hefeng feels that the masked man can drink a pot. In addition, it is worth mentioning that the true identity of the masked man is actually the disciple of Hefeng Mizuman, Uchiha Dado. As that, Fengdun ninjutsu just now, Danzo rubbed his eyes vigorously. He always thought that he was the best Fengdun ninja in Konoha Hidden Village. Although Sarutobi Hizen is proficient in 5 escape ninjutsu, Fengdun happens to be his weakest area. However, now, not only in the field of Fengdun ninjutsu, he was surpassed by the wind. He uses the wind escape spiral shuriken. It subverted his own perception of Fengdun ninjutsu. For a long time, Danzo's understanding of Fengdun ninjutsu is that of a wind blade-like vacuum wave. Or to inject wind escape chakra into supremacy. Enhance the power of kunai. Result. That kind of thing just now is also the wind escape. Danzo can't help feeling that his knowledge of Fengdun has completely collapsed. Wind escape spiral shuriken. Sarutobi Hizen clenched his fists with both hands, whispering the name of this ninjutsu softly from his mouth. Advertisement. For a long time, he thought that the harmony of wind would only be the escape of water and the escape of earth. Unexpectedly, the gentle breeze. Wind escape is still hidden. If it is shui dun and tu dun, I am afraid that the power of Helix Pill will not be so exaggerated. In the view of Sarutobi Hiseki, only the wind escapes. In order to fully exert the power of the spiral shuriken. This kind of mood simply makes Sarutobi Risen indescribable. I always feel that Hefeng is the man of destiny. He not only possesses a brilliant mind, but also has the highest quality bloodline of the Thousand Hands clan and the Maelstrom clan. If the wind does not have the wind escape chakra, it is impossible for him to develop the spiral pill to such an extent. In other words, Hefeng has no shortcomings. At this moment, Sarutobi Hitoshi couldn't help but start to doubt. Was Kase like himself, a ninja proficient in 5 escape ninjutsu? And he thought it was very possible. It's a terrible Fengdun ninjutsu. Sarutobi Hitoshi sighed with emotion. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Yes. The door on the side followed along. I didn't expect that the 7-year-old Hefeng could develop such a terrifying ninjutsu. It really opened my eyes. Rao is known as the god of ninjutsu. Ninjutsu with such amazing power has never been developed. The only ninjutsu that can be compared with Fengdun spiral shuriken. Probably it was the technique of multiplying detonating amulet. But that ninjutsu is a tactic of reincarnating from the dirty soil. And by constantly calling the detonation talisman to carry out fixed point blasting. It is a continuous injury. In terms of instantaneous eruption, it is actually not as good as the Japanese ninjutsu. The scariest thing is that Hefeng is only 7 years old. 7 years old. What did I do when I was 7? Don't talk about developing ninjutsu when I was 7 years old. Even practicing ninjutsu takes a long time. I sighed in my heart. This is how early I was born. It's the grandfather of the gentle style. Advertisement. Otherwise, if it is the same age as Hefeng, I'm afraid that I don't even have the qualifications to lift shoes for the Japanese style. In particular, although the wind escape spiral shuriken can only attack the target at close range, if it is paired with the thunder god technique, it can exert unexpected effects. From the perspective of Fenjian, a ninja who can compete with the destructive power of ninjutsu. Looking at the entire ninja world, there is not much left. Today's Hefeng, in terms of strength, has far exceeded the general shinobi. At the age of 7, do you have the strength of an elite Shangnan? I couldn't help but stare at the wind, and took a breath. His current mood is really surprised and happy. Although comparing his talent with the Japanese style will blow his heart, as long as he thinks that he is his grandson, it is the hope of the future of Konoha Yinkyun. It is the next generation of Naruto. The joy in Feijian's heart is still far greater than other emotions. It's just that Hefeng is thinking about another thing now in his heart. Although the Flying Thunder God technique can ensure that I won't be swept in by the energy of the Wind Dune Spiral Shuriken. But how to attack the opponent is a problem. Although it is possible to use the technique of Flying Thunder God to initiate the initiative, the problem is, if you can imprint Fei Lei Shen's technique on others, you can destroy the enemy even if you don't use the Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken. And, although he has learned the Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken, but he needs the Shadow Clone to cooperate. Once there is no action for a certain period of time, the Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken will dissipate because it cannot be maintained. In other words, the fairy mode is still very important. Although Hefeng thought of several ways to attack the enemy unexpectedly. But I have to say that these methods are not as violent as the simple violence of throwing a Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken remotely. In addition, the fairy mode itself is also a very strong ninjutsu. Grandpa Feijian. Thinking of this, Hefeng strengthened his determination. No matter what, I have to go to Miamu Mountain. Study there for a while. Learn Shanshu. Completely complete the ninjutsu of Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken. What's the matter? Turning his head to look at Hefeng, asked. I think, leave the village for a while. Hefeng took a deep breath and asked, Grandpa Feijian, have you heard of Miamu Mountain? Although Hefeng feels that the fairy model between the pillars is from the Wetbone Forest, he prefers Miamu Mountain. Chapter 183 Madara. Did I win the unlimited monthly reading? One more. Advertisement. In the cracks of a certain hell, a mass of white things grew from the ground and bloomed like bamboo shoots. It was Shirazu who helped Uchiha Madara gather information about the ninja world. You are back, Baiju. Uchiha Madara glanced at Shirazu who came back, and recognized that he was the one who was specifically responsible for collecting information about the Japanese style. To be honest, Uchiha Madara doesn't want to hear anything about Japanese style at all. Because the information that Baiju brought back to him the last time he came back, he began to wonder if he had been in Infinite Moon Reading. The Uchiha clan rebels carefully designed by himself. Not only did he fail to cause harm to Hefeng, but he was killed by Hefeng alone on the spot. The scariest thing is, Hefeng, a 7-year-old kid, even opened the writing wheel for no reason. This incident almost didn't allow me to have a myocardial infarction on the spot, so I took a step earlier than the column. Good guys. Uchiha Madara is a good fellow directly. He could still accept all the talents and aptitudes that Hefeng had shown before. After all, Hefeng is the grandson of Shima and Mito. From a genetic point of view, it is indeed possible for grandchildren to inherit grandpa's genes better than sons. But this time, that's too much. The breeze is too much. The writing wheel eye is clearly the limit of blood inheritance that the Uchiha clan can possess. And Uchiha Madara can be sure. Hefeng, this kid, can never have the blood of the Uchiha clan. Between the pillars of his grandfather, he is a tribe with 1,000 hands, and the boundary of blood succession is Mu-dun. His grandmother Mito is a family of whirlpools, with a large amount of chakras and the ability to perceive chakras and seals. Not to mention, his father failed to inherit the waste material of the excellent genes between the pillars. The mother was even a commoner who was married under the policy between the pillars. So, how can there be a writing wheel in Hefeng? When Uchiha Madara heard the news, he seriously doubted whether Shirazu made a mistake. However, Baiju, as his own confidant, possesses most of the intelligence in the ninja world. It's impossible to even admit the mistake of writing round eyes. And Baiju was very sure. When Hefeng met the Uchiha family of rebels, he used the illusion of writing round eyes. Even those of the Uchiha clan are very convinced of this. This incident puzzled Uchiha Madara. He was shocked by the destruction of more than a dozen Uchiha clan writers with his own power than Hefeng. Advertisement. Hefeng, what the hell is going on? It's simply incomprehensible. Uchiha Madara clenched his fist with his right hand and hammered his thigh severely. The more I thought about it, the more angry. In order to get the intercolumn cells, how much of a round did you play? How much effort did it take? Only after a battle in the Valley of End, he bit off a piece of his flesh, and he has been training since returning here. I thought I would become the first and only person in the entire ninja world to have both Uchiha and Senju bloodlines. Result. Hefeng not only perfectly inherits the lineage of Senjujuma. Now I have opened the writing wheel again. Madara Uchiha gritted his teeth and gasped. Doesn't this mean that Hefeng is the new 6 immortals? Between the pillars, I didn't expect that you would have given birth to a good grandson. What a great grandson. Madara Uchiha felt uncomfortable. It's hard to make sense. So, what did Hefeng do this time? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. It took a lot of effort for Uchiha Madara to calm his mood, but his heart was shocked by the breeze, and his mind was difficult to calm down. But it never faded. Well, seeing the change in Uchiha Madara's expression, Bai couldn't help but wonder whether it would be better not to speak. Let's talk. Uchiha Madara saw this and said casually. In any case, he sent Baiju out to get all the information about Hefeng. Well, that's it. Do you remember the spiral pill mentioned earlier? Baiju asked tentatively. Helix Maru, is that ninjutsu similar to the tail beast Jade? Uchiha Madara frowned. This ninjutsu, he was really impressed. Because no matter it is between the pillars and the door, he praised the Helix Maru of the Japanese style for incredible. Moreover, the power of the spiral pill is indeed amazing. There is also the advantage of not requiring Jia Yin. Therefore, when Baiju came back here to report, he specifically mentioned this matter. Although Uchiha Madara had not seen it with his own eyes, he also discovered the difference of this ninjutsu through Shirazu's description. The scariest thing is that when I thought that this was a ninjutsu developed by a 7-year-old kid, it was difficult for Uchiha Madara to accept it in his heart. If it were the spiral pill developed in the middle of the story, I wouldn't be so shocked. Advertisement. Although that guy is not very strong, he still has some talent in developing ninjutsu. However, ninjutsu such as Helix Maru was developed by a 7-year-old kid called Hefeng. Between the pillars, what the hell did you give birth to come out? Uchiha Madara said with a long sigh. However, if the chakra attribute changes can be added to the spiral pill, it will definitely be able to further enhance its power. Of course, this kind of thing is not that simple. Just maintaining the stability of the spiral pill is already very difficult. However, as soon as Uchiha Madara's voice fell, Shirazu's face became extremely ugly, because he really didn't know how to tell Uchiha Madara the truth. And many more. Uchiha Madara noticed by Zetsu's reaction, his eyes widened suddenly, and an unbelievable look appeared. Could it be that the Hefeng guy is already in the spiral pill, and the chakra attribute has been changed? Are you kidding me? How long has it been since he invented the ninjutsu of Helix Pill? Besides, he is only 7 years old, right? At the age of 7, he developed such terrible ninjutsu one after another. How is this kind of thing possible? Impossible. It is absolutely impossible. Uchiha Madara shook his head, vehemently denying such a thing. Even the talented and terrifying gentleman's style can't be so outrageous. It must be because of something else. But who knows? Baiju nodded firmly. Hefeng is indeed. In Helix Maru, the chakra attribute change was added, and a ninjutsu named Fengdun Helix Shuriken was developed. And the power is amazing. Only one move, it destroyed a wooden man. Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara. At this moment, Uchiha Madara was stunned. What are you talking about? Gentle breeze, but also breezy escape. Coupled with the water escape and soil escape required by the wood escape. Doesn't this mean that Hefeng has at least 3 chakra attributes? Not only that, but Hefeng also plans to go to Miamu Mountain to learn immortality. Baiju took a deep breath and burst out even more astonishing information. Hefeng, I'm going to learn Shanshu. Chapter 184 Uchiha Madara decided to take action. 2 more. Advertisement. Hefeng, going to Miamu Mountain to learn fairy skills. Uchiha Madara was stunned on the spot. He knows Shanshu too well. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, between the pillars was in the fairy mode, using the move of Shanfa Mu done through thousands of hands, breaking his prestige, Suzuo Nengu. Finally successfully sealed the 9 tails. However, nowadays, it is not just between the columns. Even Hefeng has to learn Shanshu. Shanshu is not so easy to learn. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but complain. Looking at the entire ninja world, there is only one ninja who can learn the fairy mode. Even if he is himself, he can't enter into the fairy mode. How could it be possible for a 7-year-old kid like Hefeng? How can it be? Is it possible? Can. Uchiha Madara's face suddenly froze. Although he wanted to say that he felt that Hefeng was only 7 years old and it was impossible to learn the magic, but from the time I heard the name Hefeng until now, wasn't he shocking the world? He casually learned the 8-door Dunjia, opened to the 6th Jingmun in one breath, and created a body art like the peacock on his own. Defeated the famous Troy in Union Village. Then, at the border of the country of fire, he defeated the Golden Horn and Silver Horn with the wood escape technique. The ghost lanterns in Wuyin Village turn on the moon. Then, he talked to the only man in the ninja world who was recognized by him, Senjujujuma. The first battle was evenly divided. Flying Thunder God's technique, an S-level difficulty of time and space ninjutsu, has also been easily learned by the wind. At the age of 7, he developed the spiral pill and the wind escape spiral shuriken. Not only that, but Hefeng started his writing round when he was 7 years old. Or, 3 Guyu. 7-year-old Sengoyu writes round eyes. This kind of talent is unique even among the Uchiha clan. Even if it is me, I only started writing round eyes when I was 15 years old. And it's still a Guyu writing round eyes. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but smile wryly. Isn't the one thing Hefeng has done so far to shock the world? Picking up one of these achievements at random can be hailed as a genius. Not to mention, these things happened in less than half a year. Advertisement. It's a monster. So, Hefeng is going to learn Shanshu. That kid really can't learn fairy skills. Uchiha Madara couldn't help taking a breath, as long as he thought of those things before the wind. It is hard to deny that it is him. Maybe, Hefeng, this kid, can really learn fairy art easily. And once Hefeng learns the immortality, then his strength will change drastically. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara couldn't help raising his hands, then clenched his fists. The breeze is thriving, and oneself is aging day by day. Madara Uchiha couldn't help worrying. The gentle breeze will become the biggest obstacle to my unlimited monthly reading plan. The current Japanese style not only inherits the wood escape technique between the pillars, but also the riding wheel eyes of my Uchiha clan. Maybe even reincarnation eyes. Suddenly, Uchiha Madara stood up from the Tukong. It takes at least a few months to depart from Konoha village to Mt. Miamu. During this period of time, the breeze will not only stay away from the village, but also away from the pillars and the door. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. For myself, this is undoubtedly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Opportunity to solve the Zephyr. Although it is for the face of the pillars, I don't want to deal with Hefeng. But his growth rate is really too fast. If it is not eliminated as soon as possible, I am afraid that the wind will be a hidden danger sooner or later. Finally, Uchiha Madara, who had always been calm, couldn't hold his breath anymore. He decides. God Hefeng, if you want to blame, you can only blame, you let him leave the village. Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed slightly, exuding a chilly light. He doesn't allow it, nor let others disturb your final plan. Even if that person is the grandson between the pillars. At the same time, the Konoha hidden village exercise field. Hefeng doesn't know anything about what's happening in the crevices of hell. With a solemn expression on his face, he put forward his thoughts to the door. He plans to leave Konoha village for a while and go to Miamu mountain to learn immortality. Anyway, I am now in the village, training every day, performing trivial tasks, and then resting. It's better to spend time and energy instead of doing this daily routine. Spend on more meaningful things. After all, there are too many ninjutsu in the punch card system. Advertisement. If you want to get the fairy pattern from it, there is almost a 1 in 1,000th probability. I can't make it right. When I was 7 and 80, I couldn't help but see the shadow of the fairy pattern. The immortal mode and no immortal mode are completely two concepts. But these words surprised Janjian. How did you know Miamu mountain? He blinked. Compared with Hefeng's desire to learn immortality, how he knew about Miamu mountain was even more surprised. After all, the current Zephyr is only 7 years old. It stands to reason that his knowledge of the world should be very small, but why does he even know the 3 major heritage sites like Miamu mountain? Noting the surprised expression in Feijian, Hefeng is calm. Before asking this question, he had already figured out the reason. In any case, Miamu mountain does not exist in another world. The reason why Naruto was psyched up to Miamu mountain by the toad was because he was too far away from Miamu mountain. Moreover, Jima often ran out to buy groceries. Okay. Why did the toads of Miamu mountain go to Konoha village to buy vegetables? Forget it. Forget about it. When I was training, I came across a talking toad on the edge of a stream. They told me about Miamu mountain, and heard from them. Miamu mountain is one of the 3 major heritage sites, where there is an ninjutsu called Shanju. I want to learn, Hefeng said in a very pretentious manner. Anyway, there are so many toads in Miamu mountain, and it is impossible to confirm them one by one. And judging from his reaction, he did know about Miamu mountain, the 3 major inheritance sites, and Shanshu. But I want to come too. As the younger brother of Zujian, how could Feijian not know that his eldest brother Zujian would be a fairy? Toad can't help but mutter. He didn't expect that Hefeng would encounter Miamu mountain's toad during training. However, in his opinion, this incident is not a bad thing. If Hefeng can learn the fairy mode, it will undoubtedly be a huge improvement to his strength. And with his talent, I really can't think of the possibility that the Japanese style can't learn magic. In some ways, being able to meet Miamu mountain's toad by chance may be an opportunity for Hefeng. Okay. In the end, his tone was relaxed and he agreed to Hefeng's request. Chapter 185 Depart for Miamu mountain 3 more. Advertisement. Regarding the nonsense of Hefeng, I didn't think about it carefully. Because from his perspective, he really couldn't figure out where Hefeng could find out about the 3 major heritage sites. Therefore, from the perspective of Fei Jian, since Hefeng energy was training, he came across the toad of Miamu mountain by chance. For Hefeng, it is undoubtedly an opportunity. Even if Hefeng failed to learn the magic in the end, it would have done nothing to him. Just signing a psychic contract with the toad of Miamu mountain is beneficial to Hefeng without harm. And in his mind, he no longer regarded Hefeng as an ordinary 7-year-old child. It won't work if you leave the adults. Especially in the warring states period that I experienced before Shujian. 7 years old. I don't know how many births and deaths on the battlefield. Don't talk about the warring states period. Even in the age of ninjas, Hefeng has completed several missions. Escort Uzumaki Yuna back to the country of Uzumaki. Patrol the borders of the fireproof country. Protect the name of the country of Poland. In that mission, Hefeng didn't encounter a strong enemy. Who will solve the enemy in the end? It is a gentle breeze. Although he is only 7 years old, looking at the entire ninja world, his strength cannot be underestimated. And today's Zephyr has learned my flying thunder god art. Even if you really encounter enemies that the wind cannot solve, he can also use the technique of flying thunder god to retreat. In other words, I couldn't think of any dangers that Hefeng could encounter on the way to Miamu mountain. After all, Uchiha Madara had long since died in the Valley of the End. Secondly, with a gentle personality, even if I reject him, I'm afraid he won't be obedient. Feijian nodded after some thoughts, and agreed to Hefeng's idea of going to Miamu Mountain. But the conversation turned around. You want to go to Miamu Mountain to learn immortality, I have no objection. But there are a few points I have to explain to you. You can also treat it as a bargain. What are the conditions? Hefeng asked without even thinking about it. Although the door is a very deep city, Hokage is scheming, but he is still very good to his own people. Even the skill of Flying Thunder God was taught to himself without reservation. I also specifically asked myself to come over, wanting to help develop new techniques. In spite of, the technique of Flying Thunder God is also good. Wind Escape Spiral Shuriken, they were all obtained by punching in by themselves, and had little to do with the title. Advertisement. But his true feelings are genuine. So Hefeng can't think of any reason why he would harm himself. It's okay if you want to go to Miamu Mountain, but Sarutobi Hizen must be accompanied by them. Although the current Hefeng strength is very strong, it is even more terrifying than Sarutobi Hizen and others combined. But his knowledge of this world is far inferior to Sarutobi and others. Such as how to survive in the wild, how to be alert to enemies in the dark. At least, in his mind, he was worried that Hefeng could not handle such things well. And Miamu Mountain is not close to Muyayan village. The way to hurry in this era is basically to rely on walking. Even if the wind rushes all the way, it takes at least a month as a unit of time to run to Miamu Mountain. Dry food, change of clothes, etc. In other words, he needs to bring a lot of luggage. And he is only 7 years old this year. Let's not talk about whether you can carry so much luggage and carry it on your body. What if it doesn't grow tall? It's better to let Sarutobi Hizen and Shimura Danzo help. Well, you can. Hefeng nodded without thinking about it. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. In his opinion, there is no harm in taking Sarutobi Hizen and others. To learn fairy art by yourself, be fair and honest. What can they do if they know it? Moreover, something like Shanshu is not something you can learn if you want to learn it. Very talented. To be honest, even Hefeng himself is not fully sure, he will definitely be able to learn the magic. After all the shocking talents he showed in the eyes of others were all fake. All are drawn from the punch card package. It is true that only the identity of the related household and Wyan's ability to heal are true. However, even if you can't learn immortality, you can learn spiritism in Miamu Mountain. It's also a good thing. In this way, when you encounter weak enemies in the future, you won't even be too lazy to make a move. Just let the toad lick it with your tongue. That's it. The second condition is 3 months. He stretched out 3 fingers in the door, hoping that Hefeng would return after staying in Miamu Mountain for at most 3 months. In any case, the eldest brother Zujian has a terminal illness. Time is running out. If the breeze is gone, it won't be back for a few years. Missed the last company. Advertisement. It's not what I want to see in a moment. After thinking about it, he decided to give Hefeng up to 3 months. Of course, even if Zujian was terminally ill, Feijian agreed to go to Miamu Mountain with Hefeng. There is a reason, according to his knowledge of the intercolumn condition. As long as the eldest brother no longer consumes chakra excessively, relying on the drugs he has prepared for him, there is no problem in extending the lifespan for a few more years. If it is possible for him to see Hefeng and learn the magic before his death, presumably, it can be regarded as some regrets between the pillars. I know. Hefeng heard this and nodded. To be honest, Hefeng's feelings for Zujian are not so deep. After all, he had always thought that he was born in an ordinary family during the year he traveled to the Naruto world. For this airborne grandpa between the pillars, the time that Hefeng spent with him was very short. To say that there is the kind of family affection that blood is thicker than water. If you don't see the pillars for a day, you will feel uncomfortable. I cry bitterly when I think that he is about to die. Hefeng himself didn't believe he would have it. If he insisted that he did, he felt hypocritical. For Zhu Jian, the more affection for the gentle breeze is respect and longing. A man who can build Shinobu village in troubled times, struggle for ideals until the end, and never forget his original aspiration, a consistent man. Forget it. Anyway, let's go to Miamu Mountain first. Hefeng found that in many cases, he didn't want to be as funny as he imagined. I don't know if it's because of the mirror's personal problem. It's still a relationship. Just read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. The wind nodded towards the door, expressing understanding. Most of them are some food. In the following days, Hefeng packed his luggage seriously. Take the wind because the side effects of the red pepper pills have not completely subsided, so I can only continue to recuperate. There are not many in this world. It can only be said that between the pillars is an idealist. Sometimes his ideas are too ideal, which makes him seem out of tune with this world. Especially after getting along with the pillars. And the people who accompanied him to Miamu Mountain this time are naturally the future Konoha senior leaders. 3 months, I know. Because he really didn't want to eat Miamushin's bug set meal. On the contrary, it was Uchiha Kami, who didn't let him join the operation. Chapter 186 Encounter Jiaodu, one more. Advertisement. After finishing all the luggage and saying goodbye to the family, he left Konoha Yin village and set off for Miamu Mountain. Rizhen, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan travel with Hefeng. Is there too much luggage prepared? Tuan Zhang couldn't help complaining to Hefeng. He felt that the luggage he carried was at least 500 caddies, and he didn't know what Hefeng put there. In fact, it is not just Danzo. Rizan and Yan, each with a large bag of luggage, followed the wind. Only Xiaohu was more relaxed, only carrying a small luggage bag, which was filled with Haorihu was changed in the wind, and some scrolls. What's inside the scroll? Naturally it goes without saying. This time I will spend at least 3 months in Miamu Mountain. Of course I need to prepare more food. Hefeng said without thinking. After all, he doesn't want to taste the unique food of Miamu Mountain. Especially from the hands of Shima. He still prefers human food. Except for the Haori that Xiaochun brought with him, the other luggage contained all kinds of fast food. Although it tastes worse, it is better than bugs. And in places like Miamu Mountain, there are no other creatures except toads and insects. Even if you want to hunt, there is nowhere to hunt. Hefeng thought to himself. Taking advantage of the daytime, Hefeng deliberately drove a long way. After all, this time I was going to Miamu Mountain to learn immortality, and Hefeng's heart was already excited. I really want to see the toad of Miamu Mountain soon. Before I knew it, the sky gradually darkened. Let's rest here today. Hefeng deliberately found a clearing deep in the forest. He plans to rest here today and continue on his way tomorrow. Naturally, Rizan and others would not have any opinions. 10 years have passed since the end of the Warring States period. Although the strongest people in other countries have followed the example of Zujian and established Shinobu village, they are all in the initial stage. Many places have no open land and belong to virgin forests. And Rizan and others are not children, they have performed large and small tasks before Hefeng returned to Konoha. Overnight in the wild is even more commonplace. So, Rizan assumed the command as he had done in the past, and asked Danzo and Yan to put down his luggage, and then went to find some wood back. Danzo is an airy ninja. Make full use of his ninjutsu, you can easily get firewood. Advertisement. Then with the help of his own fire escape ninjutsu, you can complete the fire. In this regard, Sarutobi Hizen is already familiar with it. With one hand on his hips, he explained to Hefeng, if you want to spend the night in the wild, a fire source is indispensable. It can make those beasts feel jealous, and it won't make us feel at a loss when we are in danger. The most important point is that it is easy for people to feel insecure when they are in the dark. The corners of Rizan's mouth rose, and a smile appeared. In terms of ninjutsu, the wind is indeed stronger than himself. But in terms of life experience, I am undoubtedly richer than the gentleman. Especially this kind of knowledge about survival in the wild, how can I know more than a 7-year-old child? At least, Rizan thought so in his heart. But just when the group of them was ready to complete these tasks before night fell, their actions attracted someone's attention. Those guys. It's a ninja from Konoha hidden village. Based on the patterns on the foreheads of the people such as Rizan, he quickly determined the identities of these ninjas. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. I didn't expect that I would encounter Konoha's little devil here. And this ninja concealed most of his body under dark clothing, and even his face was covered by black cloth, with a white cloth strap tied to his forehead, and the pupils of his 2 eyes appeared pale green. Surprisingly, it is the elite Shangnan of Takanan village, Kakuzu. Now he just got rid of the shackles of Takanan village. Forget it. Jiaodu observed in secret for a while, and decided to bypass them. Although I don't know why these young ninjas left the village and ran so far away. But he has no interest in these nameless guys. Moreover, Kakuzu didn't hate Konoha ninja in his heart. Compared to Konoha's ninja, the guys in Takanan village are what I hate the most. As the elite of Takanan village, Shinobu, Jiaodu has accepted a special assassination mission. Destroy the first generation of Hokage in Konoha hidden village. Result. Because of the wooden escape technique between the pillars, he unfortunately lost to this opponent. However, what Jiaodu didn't even dream of was that the pillars didn't kill himself. Instead, he explained his ideals to himself. Advertisement. He hoped that among the ninjas, there would be no more killings. Let this world usher in true peace. Children can be honest with each other and put their hearts to heart. Although I don't understand why Zujian told me this, he is indeed a respectable ninja. When Jiaodu saw Konoha's little devil, he couldn't help but think of the past. Although I don't want to admit this, the strength of the first generation of Hokage is indeed above him. However, when Jiaodu returned to the village, he did not get the village's understanding. Instead, the village was blamed. He was severely punished for failing the mission. I bet my life for the sake of Takaninmura, but in the end I was treated cruelly. This kind of treatment not only made Kakuzu feel disappointed in Taki Shinobu, but also gave birth to a strong sense of revenge. In the end, under his great strength, he successfully escaped from prison and took away the grievances that Takanan village regarded as a secret technique. Suddenly, the corner took away all the high-level hearts of Takanan village and used it to strengthen his body. Those guys are simply unreasonable. As long as they have seen the strength of Zhu Jian, they will not say such outrageous words. Let me kill the pillar room, I must succeed. What a joke. Even if I have mastered the grievances now, I am not 100% sure to get rid of the pillars. Zhao couldn't help but complain in his heart. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became, and the more he felt that the senior leaders of Takanan village were short-sighted. In fact, he also used physical means to make them truly inadequate. But, although the current horns have become stronger than before, he has no reason to assassinate the pillars again. Moreover, whether it is the person between the pillars or his ideals. The corners are very impressed. It depends on the face between the pillars, let go of you little ghosts. Jiaodu took a deep breath and planned to leave here. However, When he thought he hadn't seen anything, the 7-year-old Hefeng suddenly patted his hands. Mu done the art of the Four Pillars family. The whole earth began to shake, and a seemingly luxurious building slowly rose up and appeared in front of the gentle breeze. Zhao Du's eyes widened suddenly. That's Mu escape. Chapter 187. This is the cooked duck. 2 more. Advertisement. Hefeng Jian's son talked about the skills of survival in the wild, and waved his hand impatiently. From a certain point of view, what Sun Zan said is not bad. It's just that he overlooked the most important point, that is, that he can do nothing about escape. To be precise, it is possible to use wooden escapes for construction. For me, there is no wild survival at all. It's just a different place to live. Moreover, you can live very comfortably. Hefeng's hands began to make seals, and the last shot used the special wooden escape technique that he had obtained when he punched in before. Mu done the art of the Four Pillars family. As Hefeng used this ninjutsu, the ground in front of him began to shake, and the whole ground looked like the surface of water. A huge building slowly emerges from it, rises, and finally freezes in front of everyone. Let's live here tonight. Hefeng turned around and said lightly. And because of Chakra's ample relationship, the four-pillar family technique of Hefeng is much larger than the one of Yamato. The appearance is more magnificent and luxurious. Rizan and others were stunned. No one thought that Hefeng would still have this kind of operation. Mu Dun can still be used like this. Rizan was speechless. He felt that his knowledge of ninjutsu was completely broken by the wind. This. Xiaochun blinked. Apart from being only 7 years old, the Japanese style is simply my ideal type. No matter where you go, as long as you pat your hands with the wind, you can transform into a house. Yan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Is there anything in this world that can't be done by gentle wind? Hefeng. Danzo muttered the name of Hefeng in a low voice. It really developed Mu Dun to the extreme. Except for a few of them. Another person is paying close attention to the operation of Hefeng. It is Zhaodu. In fact, he noticed that the forehead protection patterns of Hefeng and others were Konoha marks. I planned to look at the face between the pillars and let go of these little ghosts. However, just as he turned and left, Hefeng resorted to Mu escape. Such a scene surprised Zhao. That ninjutsu is indeed Mu Dun. I didn't expect that I would be here and witness Mu Dun with my own eyes. The horns took a deep breath and stared at the breeze intently. As a man who fought with Senjuju. Advertisement. Zhao knows what it means to wood escape. Means powerful. Among the many ninjutsu he has seen, there is no ninjutsu that can be compared with Mu Dun between the pillars. Even the secret technique of Takanan village is inferior to Mu Dun. But the ninja who caught his eye from the corner looked only 6 or 7 years old. Master Mu Dun at the age of 6 or 7. What is the difference between this and cooked duck? If I guessed correctly, even if this Konoha imp is not the grandson of the pillars, he should be a member of the Thousand Hands clan. I didn't expect that I would run into it here. Zhaodu started to move inside. He does respect the pillars. I also thought about looking at the face between the pillars and letting go of the little ghosts I met. But, the heart of the breeze is so fragrant. Today, I have completely mastered the secret technique of resentment, and can obtain the other party's chakra by fusing the heart of others. Although I have not yet integrated the ninja of the blood succession boundary, I don't know if I can master the blood succession boundary because of this. But the chakra of that kid must be of very high quality. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. All corners are analyzed quickly. It is bound to consume a lot of chakras to be able to use the wood escape technique to create such a luxurious building in an instant. But at the end of ninjutsu, Hefeng still looked indifferent. No breathless performance. This is enough to prove that he did not consume too much chakra because of this ninjutsu. In other words, the chakra of this kid is majestic. Although Hefeng is only 7 years old, his chakra volume is not weaker than those of the high-level Takanan village. Do not. Zhao couldn't help but shook his head, in his opinion, if it was compared with the wind. The high levels in Takanan village are all rubbish without exception. Such a piece of fat suddenly appeared in front of Zhaodu. How can he not get excited? Who can withstand such a big temptation? And those little ghosts, they look very weak. Although these people are all senior leaders of Konoha in the future, they cannot change the fact that they are only teenagers now. For the current horns, it is indeed too weak. After all, he is a man who can fight against the original Hokage. Advertisement. The more he thought about it, the harder it was for Zhaodu to convince himself to miss this opportunity. What's more, the capture of the heart of the high-level Takanan village was not because their heart was strong, but just to vent their anger. Among these high levels, some of them are already elderly. According to Zhaodu's original plan, he just planned to find a few young ninjas. Perform heart filling. Isn't this a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? The more Zhaodu thinks about it, the harder it is to persuade himself to turn a blind eye to the wind. After some struggle, he finally straightened up, opened his legs towards the breeze, and walked over step by step. Secret technique heart capture. Zhaodu didn't say a word, and directly attacked, manipulating the black lines in his body to form tentacles, and shot towards the nearest Xiaochun, grabbing her heart. For these Konoha little ghosts, there is no need to talk nonsense. However, what Zhao didn't expect was that Hefeng's reaction was faster than him. Just as his hand was wrapped around Xiaochun's chest, and the moment he was about to break his stomach, the wind leapt up, raising his leg with a kick, the middle of the corner of the wrist. Bang! With a loud noise, the black line in Zhaodu quickly shrank. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at Hot MTL novel for free. What happened to the attack just now? The corner blinked, and an unbelievable expression appeared. Rizhen, Danzo, and Yan also reacted quickly, turned around quickly, and looked at Zhao Du, who suddenly shot. Even an adult ninja is not as powerful as a kick. Are you Zhao Du? Hefeng asked with his head tilted. This guy is. Zhao Du, do you know me? The corners shrank their pupils, and he didn't expect that he would be recognized by a 7-year-old kid. At the same time, Hefeng landed on both feet and stood firm. Zhao Du's wrist and forearm were reconnected, but he felt a faint pain in his entire arm. Resentment. Hefeng looked at the visitor up and down, and found that he was exactly the same as the corner he had in his own impression. Click. It wasn't until this time that Xiaochun realized what happened just now. It is obviously the secret technique of Takanan village. Especially the moves he just used. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would be hard for him to imagine that a 6 or 7-year-old kid would have such a powerful attack power. If it weren't for Hefeng's timely action, her current heart would most likely be dug out by the other party. Chapter 188. What do you say you were okay to provoke him? 3 more. Advertisement. I've heard of it, Hefeng replied, but he didn't expect that he would meet Zhao Du in such a place. And judging from his appearance, he has now successfully captured the secret technique of Takanan village, and he is grieving. Zhao Du. Rizan couldn't help being startled, but he had some impressions in his heart for this name. After thinking about it, he finally remembered that he had heard the name there. The ninja who assassinated Lord Zuma. Although Zhao didn't succeed in assassination, he did a feat. Assassinated the first generation of Naruto, known as the god of ninjas. Just this courage is enough to make people admire. Because the assassination of Lord Zujian failed, are you here to assassinate Lord Zujian's grandson again? Rizan made up for Zhao Du's motive on his own. Otherwise, how would you run into a corner capital in such a place? Isn't it a coincidence? How can there be such a coincidence? You said he is the grandson between the pillars. But this time, Zhao Du really didn't come to assassinate Hefeng, he just felt that Hefeng's heart was very strong and wanted to take it for himself. However, Zhao Du was not very surprised at the fact that Hefeng was the grandson between the pillars. Because the Mu Dun technique is the blood succession boundary, from this point of view, it is enough to show that there is a certain relationship between the wind and the pillars. Now that I heard Rizan say this, it was just that Horn confirmed his conjecture. But Sun Zan was almost a subconscious action, taking a step forward, protecting Hefeng and others behind him. As a result, Hefeng took 2 steps in the next second, blocking Rizan again behind him. Step back, you are not the opponent of Zhao Du. Hefeng said lightly. Although Sarutobi Hizen is proficient in 5 escapes and has good strength, it is also after he became an adult, not now. Let him take action against Zhao Du, basically there is no chance of winning. Seeing Hefeng's back, Rizan hesitated a bit, and could only take 2 steps back honestly. It's not that he is afraid of Zhao Du. Simply, he suddenly realized a very serious problem. That is, although Hefeng is only 7 years old, he is more than a little bit stronger than himself. If it's a ninja who can't even deal with the wind, how could he be an opponent? Hefeng is a monster, there needs me to protect. Rizan couldn't help but laughed at himself, he was almost protected by the wind. I'll help you. Xiaochun suddenly blushed and wanted to help, but he was opposed by the wind. Advertisement. No need. At the moment when the breezy voice fell, he used the avatar of Demudun decisively. I saw a piece of wood slowly protruding from the back of Hefeng, growing bigger and bigger, but a human form emerged. At a speed visible to the naked eye, he became exactly like Hefeng, and finally separated from him and landed on the ground. Zhao Du, it's too late to escape now, Hefeng said without thinking. He also knows a little about the experience of Zhao Du. To some extent, Zhao Du is also a tough guy. To work hard for the village, and even risk his life to assassinate the pillars. Joke. That's between the pillars. The famous god of ninjas. People who end troubled times. The 5 strongest in Ninja Village, isn't it too much? What a boldness and courage this is. The results of it. Not only did Taki Shinobu be a hero without a perspective, but he was convicted. Don't say the horns are gone, if this happens to me, I might even lift the ashes of those people. Even the breeze feels. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The reason why Zhao Du didn't trust anyone behind him, and only looked for money, had a lot to do with this matter. To some extent, Zhao Du is actually a poor man. What's more, it's mostly a coincidence that both myself and Zhao met here. If he turns around and runs, Hefeng doesn't plan to chase him. Hefeng's kind words persuade him, but Zhao can't help but sneer. Do you think you can beat me? Zhao Du only feels that the breeze is not ashamed. Now he has gotten grievances, and his strength has increased several times more than when he assassinated Zujian. Although the hearts of those old guys are not very strong, I am now proficient in 5 types of escape techniques. Just a 6 or 7-year-old kid. How could it be my opponent? He is just bluffing. Thinking of this, the corner made a decisive move, Earth Escape Earth Spear. This trick is the ability of Kakuzu's body, which can use soil to harden the skin, thereby enhancing the attack and defense effects. When assassinating the pillars, he relied on this trick to fight against the strange power of the pillars. I saw that after Kakuzu launched this ninjutsu, his arms hardened to black, and then he kicked his feet and went straight to the breeze. The current corner capital has a lot of powerful ninjutsu. Advertisement. Just to get the hearts of Hefeng and others, he didn't intend to destroy their hearts. thus chose the physical attack. I remember. When Jiaodu turned into a black shadow and rushed towards the wind, he suddenly remembered. When he played against the pillars, that person had used the same ability. Weird force. No wonder I just thought that this kid's kick is so powerful, it turns out that it inherited the strange power between the pillars. Even Mu Dun's ninjutsu and Japanese style have already learned. Now there are more strange forces. Zhao didn't think there was anything unreasonable. It's just that his Earth Escape Earth Spear is also a kind of strange power technique. Seeing that Jiaodu rushed up, Hefeng couldn't help but shook his head. Jiaodu, I really don't want to kill you. After spitting out, the gentle breeze concentrated chakra on his fist, aimed at Jiaodu's palm head-on, and hit it straight out. Bang! With a loud noise, the soil covering Jiaodu's arm began to crack layer by layer. The two couldn't breathe, cracks all over his arm. All corners are dumbfounded. What do you say you are okay to provoke him? Rizhen, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan. They all took a breath. Due to the strange power of the surprised and wind, Jiaodu's brain was a little distracted for a while, unable to defend the whip kick of the wind. This is too ridiculous. Then, the wind made another kick and went straight to the abdomen of Jiaodu. No matter how many times they see it, they feel that the harmony of the wind is amazing. Jiaodu, you should run quickly. Rizan rolled his throat, as if foreseeing the future of Jiaodu. To hit Hefeng, this guy, really stupid enough. A 6 or 7-year-old kid, should he have physical skills? Boom. Even, they can't help but sympathize with them. That is really, just now, what happened. There was another loud noise, and Jiaodu's body flew out uncontrollably like a kite with a broken line. This guy's weird power can hardly lose to the pillars. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Even the horns lying on the ground flying upside down, can't help but doubt life. Chapter 189 Humans have limits, one more. Advertisement. I was beaten into the air by a 7-year-old kid. The horns were lying on the ground, looking at the dark sky, as if a huge tornado was blowing in the depths of my heart. I couldn't calm down for a long time. In physical skills, would he lose to a 7-year-old kid? What a joke. Although he defected to Takanan Village, he has always been a top player in Takanan Village in the field of physical skills. There are also ninjutsu such as Earth Dun and Earth Spear to enhance their own attacks and defenses. As a result, he was kicked into the air in just 2 rounds against the piece. How can Jiaodu not be surprised by such a thing? No, it's impossible. Jiaodu shook his head vigorously, denying the fact that his physical skills had lost to Hefeng. It must be because he was only 7 years old this year, and he underestimated him. Correct. I was careless, and he was seized by the opportunity. But when the horns were sitting up from the grass, not only did he feel a sharp pain in his abdomen, but the soil spear he blessed on his arm also began to fall off. The fragments fell to the ground one after another, exposing his original skin. At one glance, the corner was stunned. This is just. Zhao recalled that he was using the Earth Escape and Earth Spear to strengthen her body's hardness and rushing towards the gentle wind. The other party decisively threw a fist at himself. After a strong collision, his ninjutsu was destroyed. And the breeze. Nothing seems to be the same. This kid. The more I think about it, the more Jiaodu feels that this kid is not easy. As expected, the grandson of Senjujuma. The horns laughed, then straightened up from the ground. Not only did he not lose his soul because of his gentle performance, but he became even more excited. Very good, you are strong. I approve of you, kid. Jiaodu said to the gentle breeze. At first, he focused on Hefeng because he had the same blood succession boundary as the pillars, the wooden escape technique. And the chakra is majestic. But now, Hefeng has proved his strength with facts. Advertisement. Let Jiaodu eager for his heart even more. Your heart, I'm going to make it. Jiaodu's eyes suddenly became enthusiastic, as if a child had found the most favorite toy. He kicked his feet and rushed up to the wind again, then took off his shirt, exposing strong muscles and dense suture scars. Then, Jiaodu's back squirmed quickly, and a blue patterned mask separated from his body, connected with countless black lines. Next second, the mask opened its mouth wide, and a high-pressure typhoon was ejected from it, heading straight for the gentle breeze. Wind escape suppression. Seeing the breeze, he slapped his hands decisively and used Mu escape to respond to the enemy. Mu Dun Wood Dragon Technique. Whoops. Along with a dragon chant, the ground in front of the wind split rapidly, and a giant wood dragon rose up into the sky, facing the wind escape ninjutsu that was released by the upper corner with grievances. Rumble. The loud noise exploded, and the high-pressure wind ball shot by Jiaodu broke out in a whirlpool storm at this moment, desperately destroying the wooden dragon. Such a scene naturally stunned Rizan and others. What is that? It's disgusting. Xiaochun just glanced at it and couldn't help screaming. What's the matter with this guy? Sarutobi Hizen was also stunned. It was the first time he saw a ninja like this. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Hefeng heard the words, and probably talked about it. If I'm not wrong, this should be the secret technique of Takanan Village, and I feel resentful. Resentment. Rizan and others said in unison. Although they have heard about Takanan Village, they don't know much about the ninjas and ninjutsu there. It is worth mentioning that although Taki Ninja Village has no shadow, its status in the entire ninja world is not low. And they are also very rich. Otherwise, it would not be possible to spend a lot of money to collect the 7 tails in the bag when the beasts were sealed between the pillars. Kazuka felt that the reason why Taki Shinobu village sent horns to assassinate Shima, a large part of the relationship was because of the tail beast problem. Of course, no one knows what the truth is. Because the high levels of Takanen village were all destroyed by Kakuto. Even their hearts are fused by the horns. In short, the masks on Jiaodu are part of the grievances. If I remember correctly, they should be called nature masks. They can be parasitic on the body of Jiaodu, and they can also be detached on their own. They are formed by taking the heart of others and storing it in their own body. In other words, Kakuto not only has 5 lives, but he can also use his heart to control all the ninjutsu before his life. Hefeng shared the grievances and information he knew. In his opinion, this is not a big deal anyway. On the contrary, Jiaodu was stunned for a while, and even the continuous tactics originally prepared for the wind were subconsciously stopped. He never dreamed that a Konoha's 7-year-old kid would have such an understanding of his own ground. Advertisement. It seems that he is a high-ranking member of Takanen village. Little devil, why do you know so much about grievances? Jiaodu made a loud voice and asked Hefeng. Guess I will tell you. Hefeng said without thinking. All the corners were stunned for a moment. What kind of person is this kid? Not only strong. The same is true of grievances. It's hard to deal with. This man. Horn can't help but frown. However, high risks and high returns. If you can get the heart of the wind, you might be able to master the wooden escape technique. Thinking of the strength between the pillars. Even Jiaodu could hardly persuade himself to give up at this time. No matter how powerful this kid is, he should be far inferior to me in terms of actual combat experience. As early as the Warring States period, I was active on the battlefield. Jiaodu took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, suppressing his surprise at Hefeng. The breeze is just bluffing. However, not everyone who was present felt that the horns were disgusting. Like Danzo, he dilated both pupils at the same time, staring at Jiaodu intently. Has the body been completely transformed? His view is completely opposite to that of Xiaochun and others. Not only did he not feel disgusting, but he thought he was very handsome. In order to be more powerful, he will not hesitate to completely transform his body. So as to break through its own limits. Yes, it is. Danzo only felt that the door to the new world deep in his heart was completely opened at this moment. As ordinary human beings, no matter how hard they work, no matter how desperate they are, they have their own limits. And just abandon the human identity. In order to completely exceed the limit. Like the current Kakuto, he has mastered the ninjutsu that he will not release by taking the hearts of others. In other words, I can also get by transforming my body. The riding wheel eyes of the Uchiha clan, and the Mudden of the Thousand Hands clan. Thinking of this, Danzang's eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked towards the breeze. Chapter 190 Me, Gentle, No Limit. 2 more. Advertisement. I intended to take your heart directly, so that you will not be so painful, but now it seems that you should kill it first. The horns put their hands together. Although the secret technique of using the heart to capture the living heart is best, it is a bit easier from the dead. Anyway, even if he kills Hefeng directly, his heart will not immediately decline. In other words, as long as you are fast enough, it can be transplanted to oneself before the heart of Zephyr loses its function. And at the thought of being able to master Mu Dun's powerful ninjutsu, Jiaodu couldn't help exulting in his heart. As long as you can get that kid's heart, it doesn't matter how much you pay. Jiaodu thought to himself, made up his mind, and then released the mask of nature further. For a moment, all the 4 masks behind him were separated from the body and opened their mouths together. Every nature mask has a chakra attribute. Is that guy really human? Xiaochun looked at Jiaodu's whole body. She had never seen this kind of ability. I have never heard of this form of ninjutsu. In her opinion, horns can't even be regarded as humans. Humanity. When the corner heard Xiaochun's words, he couldn't help but laugh. As if laughing at Xiaochun's ignorance. I really can't be regarded as a human anymore. From a certain point of view, Xiaochun's idea is not bad. How can a normal human being have 5 hearts? How is it possible to have 5 lives? Even, had it not been for the horns were all planted on Naruto's body, he would probably have lived forever. Until all human beings perish. From this point of view, it is true that horns can no longer be called humans. Jiaodu clenched his fist, but he didn't care what others thought of him. He only knows that human beings are the limit. When a child is born, everything is doomed. Jiaodu spread his hands and said to Hefeng and others. Since he left Takanen village, he has not spoken to anyone. In Jiaodu's heart, he actually yearned for dialogue. As well as, show off. He wants to show off his current strength. Advertisement. I want to show off my grievances. Moreover, there are no people in the radius of 100 miles. Hefeng and others, naturally, can't wait for reinforcements. In Jiaodu's view, their failure is doomed. So the corners are not in a hurry to move. Everyone is doomed when they are born. A person who lacks chakras can never become a ninja. It is difficult for a ninja who is ventilated to release thunder ninjutsu. Ninjas who are good at Tuden will be restrained by Lei Dun. Some people have blood inheritance boundaries from the moment they are born. But, Jiaodu made a low voice, and took a step forward. The ground grievance is different. Even if I can only use the soil escape ninjutsu, I only rely on the ground grievance ability. Taking someone else's heart, I can get wind escape chakra, thunder escape chakra, water escape chakra, fire escape chakra. Along with these ninjutsu from before my life, I can also use it. Although so far, I have not transplanted the heart of the owner of the blood succession boundary, but the grievances are so powerful that it is beyond your imagination. As long as I can capture your heart, I can master the wooden escape technique. The corners are looking directly at the breeze, as if they are bound to win. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. However, in the impression of Hefeng, Jiaodu's grievances didn't seem to be able to fuse the blood inheritance boundary. Of course, Hefeng can't remember this detail. After all, Jiaodu and Fei Duan are both short-lived characters in the story. Wrong. Somehow Jiaodu left a very famous stock. 800 miles away, he threw a bitterness towards the pillars. Jiaodu spoke again. In other words, you who have physical limits cannot be my opponent. Even if it's you, Konoha's little devil, your amount of chakras is really amazing, but I, with 5 hearts, have 5 times as much chakras as ordinary people. Even if it is a ninjutsu battle, I can end this battle by exhausting your chakra. During the speech, the corners of both hands were sealed, and they were ready. However, Hefeng couldn't help but chuckle with his words. You just said, the limit. Do you think I have a limit? So far, even in the fight against the pillars, Hefeng has not been able to show all his strength. Before Jiaodu proposed this concept, Hefeng hadn't really thought about his limits. Hefeng was even amused by Jiaodu's self-confidence. This guy actually felt that chakra had 5 hearts, 5 times more than ordinary people. Advertisement. Tested out your limits. In the end, who gave Jiaodu this confidence? Are you grieving? Jiaodu, it seems that you haven't realized the seriousness of the problem. Me, gentle, no limit. The smile on Hefeng's face disappeared instantly, replaced by a serious look. He slowly raised his hands and put them together again. Miu done the art of the wooden man. The whole earth shook again, and countless vines grew crazily under his feet and gathered together to form a giant of wood 7 or 8 meters high. He is tall and hideous. Even Jiaodu was taken aback by this scene. It's not just the wooden dragon technique between the pillars, but even his wooden man technique. This kid has learned it. But that's fine. Miu Dun's consumption of chakra is not low. Humans have limits. Tu Dun Tulong Bomb. I saw that the corners of both hands were imprinted, releasing the earth that he was good at, creating a giant earth dragon under his feet, opening his teeth and dancing claws, twisting his body, and rushing towards the wood. At the same time, his 4 nature masks also launched attacks at this moment. Wind escape suppression. A high-pressure water cannon was spit out from the mask of the earth's resentment and water escape. The grievances and fire escape masks ejected flames like ocean waves, with a huge range, swallowing toward the wooden man. For a time, 5 kinds of escape techniques with different chakra attributes rushed towards the gentle wooden man at the same time. From the mask of ground resentment and wind escape, a high-pressure wind ball was once again released. As this the terrifying power gained after abandoning human identity. Yan rolled his throat, stunned by the scene in front of him. Lei done false darkness. Sure enough, look at the ninjas behind Hefeng. Immediately afterwards, there was a mask of the nature of the grievance and thunder, opened its mouth wide, and spouted a sharp thunder gun, rushing out wildly. Water escape water curtain account. Quite terrible ninjutsu. The grievances of Takanan village. And Jiaodu's move was captured by him. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. But my ninjutsu is innate. No one can imitate it except the ninja who is proficient in 5 escape ninjutsu. And in the end, this. Sarutobi Hizen opened his eyes wide. This is exactly the same as my 5 Dalian bullet technique. Huo done head hard. Chapter 191. Sorry, I'm Chatinla, 3 more. Advertisement. Yan involuntarily stepped back. Jiaodu's grievances really stunned him. This ability simply subverted his understanding of ninjutsu. Perhaps as Jiaodu said, only by giving up the identity of human beings can we gain more powerful power. And Danzo was deeply attracted by Jiaodu's grievances. He has always been trapped by blood. Before the emergence of Hefeng, Danzo always felt that he was a strong contender for the position of Hokage. Yan, Xiaochun, their strength is too weak to look at. Not to mention the Uchiha mirror, no one likes the Uchiha clan. Hokage can hardly be seen in their clan. Only Sarutobi Hizen could compete with himself. But Danzo didn't think he would lose to Rizen at all. Until, the breeze appeared. In the beginning, Danzo did not treat peace as the same thing. Although he is the grandson of Lord Zujian, he is only 7 years old. But who knows, his talent is so terrifying that he surpassed himself in just a few days. And with a terrifying growth rate, he was far away from him. By the time Hefeng returned from the border of the Fire Country, he was already very forbearing. 1. The 7-year-old is especially shinobu. This kind of thing is simply unheard of. Doesn't this mean that Master Fajian has made up his mind to cultivate in a position where the wind is facing Hokage? After that, Hefeng defeated all of them by his own power. There is also a ghost lantern moon. It was also defeated by Hefeng. If it weren't for peace, we would probably have to confess in Poland. There are spiral pills. Wind escape spiral pill. Every time in the past, when he sees Hefeng again, he will grow astonishingly. It has simply subverted my perception of talent. As Jiaodu said, maybe everything is doomed at the beginning. His blood was completely lost to Hefeng. This is the fact that no matter how hard you try, you can't catch up. Let alone go beyond peace. It should be. However, in the current Jiaodu, Danzang has regained hope. Just abandon the human identity. Advertisement. Can become powerful. Right round eyes. Danzo's eyes narrowed slightly, and he thought of the famous blood of the Uchiha clan. Then he looked at his arm again. If there are any more adults between the pillars, are gentle cells. The identity of a human being has no meaning to Danzo at all. Only power. It is the root of everything. Yes, it is. What I need is not the secret technique of grievances. Rather, a more powerful force. Just when Danzo was thinking about these things, the gentle wooden men collided strongly with the 5 escape ninjutsu of Jiaodu. I'm afraid the airflow spreads in all directions, with scorching heat. I saw the wooden man raised his arm, pinched the oncoming earth dragon, and bound it firmly. And Jiaodu's other ninjutsu, all blasted on the wooden man. Rumble. Along with the loud noises, a dazzling thunder light appeared in the depths of the forest as night fell. The fire rose to the sky. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The light here is like daylight. The wooden figure created by the gentle wind began to crack layer by layer. That unstoppable wooden man. In this way, the horns used 5 escape ninjutsu, and they were cracked. Rizan and others were dumbfounded for a while. Unexpectedly, this ninja who came out of Takanan village would have such a terrifying strength. Mu Dun consumes a lot of chakra. The horns made a low voice and looked very proud. Because he didn't consume much chakra. This is the advantage of the grievances. He has 5 times the amount of chakras of ordinary people. Even if it releases so much powerful ninjutsu in one breath, it doesn't matter. On the contrary, it is a gentle breeze. There should not be much chakra volume left now. Jiaodu's expression suddenly froze, and the laughter stopped abruptly. Because at the moment when the wooden man collapsed, the gentle breeze came into his eyes again. As a result, it was completely different from what Jiaodu expected. There is no breathless performance in the current Hefeng. Even the opposite. The gentle breeze is still a calm expression. Advertisement. It seems that the ninjutsu just now didn't consume much of his chakra. This is impossible. Both corners' eyes widened, unable to accept this fact. Whether it is a wooden dragon or a wooden man, they are both quite powerful wooden ninjutsu. The requirements for the amount of chakras can never be small. Hefeng is only 7 years old now. How could it be possible to keep this state after releasing these 2 ninjutsu in a row? It seems that you don't know, Jiaodu. Hefeng looked at Jiaodu's expression changes. In fact, if it is the chakra amount of the wind itself, he really couldn't support 2 wooden ninjutsu. But in his body, there is a chakra between the pillars. He can use this chakra at any time as long as he has a thought. Of course, Hefeng would naturally not tell people like Jiaodu about this kind of thing. What do you mean? Jiao frowned, wondering what Hefeng was referring to. I have not only the blood of the Thousand Hands clan, but also the Maelstrom clan. So far, I have never run out of chakras. In other words, I, gentle, have no limits. That's it. Ended Jiaodu. After talking with the wind, he directly ordered Mu Dun's avatar to come over, and he directly spread his palms, condensed chakra towards a little bit, and then rotated in an irregular direction. Mu Dun avatar, without saying a word, injected the chakra attribute changes into the breezy chakra ball. When 2 or 3 can't breathe, the chakra ball in Hefeng's hand begins to brighten, and blade-like things spread around, making a humming sound. Unexpectedly, Hefeng even hid such a hand. What's the matter with that ninjutsu? Xiaochun and Yan said in unison, standing blankly on the spot. Instead, his gaze became more enthusiastic. However, Jiaodu did not turn around and flee. Awesome. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. They had never seen such an amazing Fengyan ninjutsu used by Hefeng. Now I see such an amazing Fengyan ninjutsu again. It happened that at this time, I encountered a gentle breeze. The continuous release of the wooden dragon, the wooden man's technique, and the ability to maintain sufficient stamina is enough to shock the horn. What kind of monster is this kid? How does that kind of high-density chakra do it? This is Hefeng, a new technique that has just been developed. Rizan explained, feeling a little sympathetic to Jiaodu. However, the current Jiaodu obviously did not realize the seriousness of the problem. It made him even more salivating for the heart of Hefeng. Only Mu Dun's attraction made him want to kill the wind and seize the heart. Jiaodu's eyes widened instantly, and it was the first time he saw such an amazing chakra. It was the wind escape spiral shuriken. Chapter 192. Wait a minute, where's me in the wind? One more. Advertisement. If you are hit by a chakra of that density, the consequences are probably not a joke. The horns have dignified eyes, staring at the Hefeng's wind escape spiral shuriken. He is a ninja who has come all the way from the Warring States period. Has an extremely keen intuition for danger. Without any exaggeration. Although Hefeng is only 7 years old, Jiaodu does not despise him. If he encounters a gentle breeze on the battlefield of the Warring States period, he will definitely consider whether to avoid conflict. But now, the temptation of Hefeng's heart is too great for him. As the saying goes, people die for money, and birds die for food. If you can get the heart of the breeze, then his own strength will undoubtedly be greatly improved. To be honest, I have never seen or heard of the ninjutsu used by this kid. Even if he didn't inherit the wood escape technique between the pillars, just relying on this wind escape ninjutsu is enough for me to take his heart. The corner thought to himself. Fragrant. It's really fragrant. Correct. The boundary of blood succession is either the change of the body's organs or the fusion of 2 different chakra attributes. And Mu Dun, if I remember correctly, it should be the boundary between Shui Dun and Tu Dun. Plus the current wind escape. This kid has at least 3 chakra attributes. In the ninja world, the chakras that most people have, in fact, have only one attribute. Like Jiaodu, his chakra attribute is actually only earth escape. The other attributes of chakra were all captured by him through grievances. Now I see a genius like Hefeng. In Jiaodu's heart, how can he not be excited, not excited? He can even be sure if he turns and escapes now. Then, I will regret it for a lifetime. If this is the case, then I will also use my strongest ninjutsu to fight against you. Jiaodu roared towards the wind, although you are just a 7-year-old kid from Konoha, my uncle, recognize your strength. As soon as the voice fell, Jiaodu's body began to squirm. It seemed that his body was only left with a pair of skins. There are other things boarded inside. Feng Dun, Lei Dun, Huo Dun moved from his back to his right arm, looking like a cannon. This is the strongest blow that Jiaodu can use at the moment. He aimed at Hefeng, and Konoha ninja behind him. Advertisement. You should feel fortunate that this is the first time I have used this move after I obtained the secret technique of grievance. Jiaodu said again, and poured his chakra into these 3 masks of grievances. For a time, the nature masks opened their mouths one after another, emitting a dazzling light. Even Sarutobi Hizen and others were really taken aback. Although the density of the chakras of the gentle breeze is amazing, the chakras of Kododu are equally not bad. Judging from this move alone, it is enough to prove. What a terrible secret technique is grievance. Really, it's amazing. Rizhin took a breath. Even if he was born with 5 chakra attributes, he didn't think he had the ability to fight against the horns. If there is no gentle breeze, they will definitely be snatched from their hearts by the horns. At the same time, Hefeng was unable to use ninjutsu because he was holding the wind escape spiral shuriken in one hand. If you insist, this is probably one of the few shortcomings of Fengdun spiral shuriken. Quickly get out of the way. Thinking of this, Hefeng yelled to Rizan and the others. Soon, the gentle Mu Dun avatar took a step forward and patted hard with both hands. In any case, Mu Dun clone is a physical clone, able to use the ninjutsu possessed by the wind. Mu Dun the art of the wooden man. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi, and at this moment, Kakuzu also completed the strongest ninjutsu's energy storing link. He left only a small part of the chakras to deal with these little ghosts. The remaining chakras, he was all injected into this attack. Finally, the final shot. At almost the same time, Kakuzu and the Japanese Mu Dun clone released ninjutsu together. 3 grieving masks joined forces to launch a terrifying chakra cannon. Wind escape, fire escape, thunder escape. Intertwined with each other, complement each other, and enhance each other's power. The power of a single ninjutsu was increased several times in an instant. At the feet of the Hefeng Muden avatar, the earth shook, and countless vines rose from the ground and crossed each other to form a powerful Muden. And rough. It's big. It's hard. The giant wood giant transformed into a tall, hideous face, opened his hands, trying to use his own brute force to take the attack from the corner. Don't even think about it. The horns roared, pinning all hopes in the final shooting. However, Rizhin, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan, relying on the wooden men to gain time, quickly retreated to both sides. But accidentally discovered that the breeze. He still stood behind the wooden man without any intention of leaving. Advertisement. Gentle style. Xiaochun was taken aback by the scene before him, and quickly wanted to rush back to save Hefeng. The result was chopped by Chori. In his opinion, Rao is the tall wooden figure, and it is impossible to block the ninjutsu of Kododu. After all, that's just a clone of Hefeng, using ninjutsu. Whether it is attack or defense, there should still be some gaps with him. At least, Sunslash thinks so. Rumble, accompanied by a loud noise, the terrifying air flow spread out in all directions. And the wooden figure created by the avatar of Hefeng Muden was directly penetrated by Kakudo's final shot. Chakra's energy continued to pour forward, rushing towards the building created by Hefeng using the 4 pillars family art, and instantly shattered it. Even so, Kakudo's ninjutsu still didn't stop. The chakra cannon continued to move forward, raising a large forest to the ground, and then slowly disappeared. Its destructive power even makes the scalp of Rizhin and others numb. This is also ninjutsu. Xiaochun blinked, seriously wondering if she had hallucinations. Jiaodu calls this thing ninjutsu. What a joke. Rizan murmured while rolling his throat. That is, the 4 of them suddenly felt like they were hit by a thunderbolt from the blue sky, and stood on the spot blankly. A very serious problem. Where did Hefeng go? The power of this blow is too exaggerated. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Rizan was immediately dumbfounded. I know now, Taki Shinobu, why he sent a corner to assassinate Lord Shimama. Rizhin and Danzo were not feeling better there either. How about the gentle breeze? A chakra cannon at the corner of the corner, let's get rid of it. In his lifetime, he had never seen such a terrifying ninjutsu. This is the secret technique of Takanan village, the power of grievance. Yan was dumbfounded. Then, he quickly realized a problem. It's hard to imagine that as soon as I left Konoha village, I met such a terrifying ninja. Did not even leave the body. Wait a minute, where's the breeze? Wait a minute, where's our breeze? Chapter 193 Doubt the Corner of Life 2 more. Advertisement. Gentle. Gone. Rizan and others were dumbfounded. Hefeng is not only their captain, but also the grandson of Lord Zhu Jian. If it's just solved by the angle. Not to mention that they couldn't deal with Konoha, and I'm afraid they would be able to escape from Kakudo's hands. Gentle style. Xiaochun sat down on the ground with a plop, feeling very sad. She never dreamed that the strong and confident wind would be killed by the horns. Hefeng, are you dead? Danzo's inner emotions became complicated. On the one hand, he couldn't believe this fact. On the other hand, he seemed to see the hope of becoming Hokage again. Although Jiaodu's strength is very strong, his grievances are very difficult, but the chakra gun that was so terrifying just now should have consumed a lot of his chakras. In other words, the current Jiaodu is very weak. Whether it is fighting or running, the initiative is in their hands. Do not. Danzo shook his head, but he felt that now is not the time to escape. We should seize the opportunity to solve the problem. In this way, they can be regarded as revenge for Hefeng. Even if he returned to Konoha Hidden Village, it was not without explanation. In fact, even Danzo was surprised that there were so many inner activities. No, it's impossible. Rizan didn't believe that Hefeng would be solved by Jiaodu in one shot. That's a gentle breeze. A talented and terrifying gentle breeze. It's so possible, you will be killed by Jiaodu in one shot. Hefeng has never failed. Besides, wouldn't he be able to fly the technique of Thor? Even if it is a swift attack, if you think about it, you can avoid it, right? Next second. Rizan reacted violently. The technique of Flying Thunder God is not an instantaneous technique, just use it if you want. It is a kind of time and space ninjutsu, and must have the technique of Flying Thunder God. Before sending. And Hefeng's eye just didn't throw kunai out. It's not that I don't want to use the technique of Flying Thunder God. But there is no way to use the technique of Flying Thunder God. Gentle style. Thinking of this detail, Rizan only felt that his brain was blank. Advertisement. It's like the tragedy of being killed by the wind. The corners on the side began to breathe, consuming such a huge chakra at one time, making his body feel extremely tired. He can't wait to sit down and rest immediately. However, this is not the time to rest. He must find the breeze and seize his heart. Otherwise, if it exceeds a certain period of time, he will be completely abandoned. That kid. Zhao glanced around, but couldn't find the gentle breeze in his sight. Have you been beaten to fly? However, at the moment when Zhao Du's voice fell, Hefeng's figure suddenly flashed in front of him. Zzz. The sound of the wind escape spiral shuriken buzzed in his ears. The horns, eyes widened suddenly, as exaggerated as bull's eyes, and his mouth was even more surprised as if he could squeeze a fist. Hefeng not only did not die, but appeared in front of him unharmed. It's just like, it appears out of thin air. How did he do it? And this distance. Jiaodu secretly screamed bad, almost crisis instinct, he forced himself to avoid the attack of the gentle wind. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi, but now Jiaodu, his body is exhausted and weak. Compared with him just now, it's just like two people. Not to mention dodge and wind attacks, he doesn't even have the strength to raise his hands now. It's over, Jiaodu. Hefeng and Zhao had their eyes facing each other, and the body slowly fell, then raised his arm, and pressed Feng Dun's spiral shuriken to Jiaodu's body. In an instant, the chakra compressed by the gentle wind erupted completely, forming an energy storm that swept the entire earth. The terrifying air flow reproduced, spreading in all directions, pushing the ground, and uprooting all the flowers and plants. And the position of the wind leaves a shadow behind. His body retreated to Rizan's side, squatted halfway on the ground, and picked up the kumo that had just been thrown out. Actually, when Jiaodu used the final shot to blast towards the wooden man, Hefeng let his Mudun clone throw out a handful of kunai with a Flying Thunder God technique. It is to get out of the range of the energy storm when using the wind escape spiral shuriken. All in one go. Rumble, accompanied by a loud noise, a bright energy storm shone across the woods, shrouded the horns, and cut his body frantically. Even if it is the corner of the peak state of heyday, it is impossible to avoid this energy storm. Xiaochun and Yan were dumbfounded. The two of them had never seen such an amazing ninjutsu. Even, the final shot that Kakudo used just now was much inferior to the Japanese wind escape spiral shuriken. This is, what ninjutsu? Xiaochun rolled her throat, swallowing the saliva secreted by tension. Advertisement. She was really frightened by the gentle wind. It was able to release such a terrifying ninjutsu. This is, the ninjutsu developed by Kazuka. Hizen couldn't stop his voice trembling. He was in Helix Maru, infused with attribute changes. In other words, in the spiral pill, Feng Dun is added. Hearing Rizan's explanation, Xiaochun and Yan were dumbfounded again. Just in the spiral pill, join the wind escape chakra. Will there be such an amazing effect? This is too exaggerated. Wait a minute, what did you just say? Is this the ninjutsu pioneered by Hefeng? Yan seemed to hear something terrible. Looking at the gentle breeze with a dumb face. This guy is only 7 years old, right? Isn't it really the ninjutsu pioneered by Master Shuima, the Japanese style he taught? I hope so too, but he is not. Rizan shook his head helplessly, the corners of his mouth raised, and a wry smile appeared. When I saw this ninjutsu for the first time, the mood of Sun Zan was the same as Yan now. It's all unbelievable, unbelievable. But, this is true. At only 7 years old, the Japanese style casually created a ninjutsu that even the masters of the door were helpless. Rao is Master Phagian, he has said it personally. In a few decades, he can't add chakra's attribute changes in Helix Pill. As soon as Rizan said this, Xiaochun and Yan both took a breath. I don't know how long it has passed before the storm of energy generated by the wind escape spiral shuriken gradually subsided. And Jiaodu's body was even more destroyed by this ninjutsu. It fell to the ground with a plop and couldn't move. There was a look of horror in his eyes. What just happened? Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Jiaodu can't help but start to doubt life. That ninjutsu just now was released by the 7-year-old kid Hefeng. What kind of monster is he? Also, how did this guy suddenly appear in front of him? Is it instantaneous surgery? Do not. Impossible. Instantaneous technique cannot be so fast. This is the art of flying thunder god. Zhao suddenly thought that there was a younger brother between the pillars. The name is Chinsho Janma. Chapter 194 Forever, Jiaodu 3 more. Advertisement. Feijian had already become famous as early as the Warring States period. Even Jiaodu has heard of his name. Although I haven't seen the Flying Thunder God's art with my own eyes, I have heard of it. Now when I see the wind, I will naturally connect these two things together. Simultaneously, Jiaodu's heart was shocked by the gentle breeze again. Just a 7-year-old kid, right? He has mastered so many amazing ninjutsu at the age of 7, and how terrifying his talent is. Horrible. And his chakra, it's almost endless. As the combination of the Thousand Shou clan and the Uzumaki clan so terrifying. The corners looked at the night sky. As he fights with the wind to the present, night has completely fallen. It's just that Jiaodu will look at the night sky at this time, not in love with the scene. But, his meridians were all cut off by the energy storm formed by the gentle wind escape spiral shuriken. He can't even lift his fingers now. The whole person lies flat on the cold ground. As long as you open your eyes, you can only see the night sky. Immobile. At the same time, this also means that the corners are completely out of play. Everything is over. The grandson between the pillars is a terrible monster. Zhao couldn't help sighing in his heart. What should I do now? Rizan looked at Jiaodu who had lost his combat effectiveness, and asked Hefeng. In any case, Hefeng is their captain. The final decision right should be in Hefeng's hands. What should I do? Hefeng looked at Jiaodu. To be honest, Jiaodu is indeed a poor man. However, he was hit by Feng Dun's spiral shuriken at close range, and all his meridians were cut off by Feng Dun. The reason why he can survive now is entirely because he has a heart that is the attribute of wind escape. When he was attacked by an energy storm, he was forcibly saved. But if you leave it alone, Jiaodu will die sooner or later. This is just a matter of time. Thinking of this, Hefeng took a step forward and walked towards the corner. Rizan and the others looked at each other, and then chose to keep up. After a while, Hefeng came to Jiaodu and squatted down. He looked at Jiaodu and slowly said, "Do you have anything else to say?" Jiaodu. Zephyr is a traverser. Before crossing, he liked Hokage very much. Especially the members of Akatsuki. Each one has a distinct personality. Advertisement. Even the horns and flying segments are included. However, let alone the problem that he is already very difficult to survive. Hefeng couldn't think of any good for him if he continued to live. Join Konoha Hidden Village. I'm afraid that even if he joins, he won't be sincere. And, let such a guy who can survive by replacing his heart. Maybe something will cause trouble in the future. After thinking about it, it is better to solve the problem directly here. Of course, before he killed Jiaodu, Hefeng was still very kind, so that he could explain his funeral. First name. The corner is still looking at the night sky. It's not that he is indifferent, but that he can't even do small things like twisting his neck. The current Jiaodu is as if his whole body is paralyzed. In fact, Jiaodu understands his own psychology. This time, he won't see the sun tomorrow. But before he died, he wanted to know the name of Hefeng. After all, he was the ninja who defeated himself. Seeing the breeze, he sat down cross-legged. With a low voice, he breathes. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi Hefeng. Zhao chanted the name, plus the surname between the pillars. That is Senju and Wind. What a nice name. In the end, he died in Hefeng's hands, and there was really no complaint. His strength is very powerful. Even if you do it again, it will only end up with the same result. As a ninja who came from the Warring States period, it was time to take a good rest. I remember your name, but I have something to ask you. What is the ninjutsu you just used? Zhao wanted to confirm whether that ninjutsu was the technique of Flying Thunder God. Flying Thunder God's technique. It was originally a ninjutsu invented by my second grandfather, Shinshojian, and now I have learned it. As for Flying Thunder God's technique, it stayed on you from the beginning. From the beginning, both corners stared, looking back. When he rushed towards the wind, he bumped into some fists and was kicked by him. At that time, he had intimate contact with Hefeng's body. Was it that time? Zhao suddenly realized. Understand why Hefeng can use the technique of Flying God Thunder to appear directly in front of him. It turned out to be such a thing. This guy, not only has a strong strength, but also a smart mind. Advertisement. Presumably, the future of shinobi will be able to leave the name of Japanese style. No, maybe he will be a ninja who created a new era. Push the Muyayan village between the pillars to its heyday. While Rizan and others looked at each other. Unexpectedly at that time, the wind was on Jiaodu, leaving behind the Flying Thunder God technique. In other words, it was impossible for Kodo to escape the wind escape spiral shuriken from the beginning. It's terrible, gentle wind. Rizan sighed again. Fortunately, He is Hefeng's partner, not his enemy. Not only can I compete in ninjutsu, but I am also ashamed of my mind and layout. Even, he can't help but feel sympathetic. If you say you are fine, just leave. Must provoke him to do something. However, the corner is not hysterical, nor grief. On the contrary, his mood is very calm. It seems that he has accepted his own destiny. In fact, the reason why Zhao Du takes life and death so indifferently. It was because he felt that he should have died long ago. The Warring States period, assassinate the pillars, was heavily punished by Takanan village. Every time, he escaped from the dead. Now that he died at Hefeng's hands, he didn't have any regrets. What I have to say, probably, he failed to witness the future of Hefeng. He has a nice grandson. The corners of his mouth raised, and he recalled the ninja who had let him go once. When he saw the breeze, he no longer verbose, directly used the spiral pill, and shot towards the last heart of the corner. When you finish your mission, return to Konoha Hidden Village and meet the guy from the first generation of Hokage. What are you talking about? Hefeng asked casually. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. For Senjujuma, he still respected in his heart. The wind escape spiral shuriken just now directly destroyed his 4 hearts. Correct. As if suddenly thinking of something, Zhao Du added another sentence to the gentle wind. Farewell, Zhao Du. I see, Zhao Du, I will take your last words back to my grandfather Zujian. Now there is only one wind escape heart. Bring him a word for me. Boy, no, gentle. After all the corners said, he slowly closed his eyes. Then said, it's time to let it stop beating. Chapter 195 arrived, Miamu Mountain. One more. Advertisement. The wind escape spiral shuriken destroyed the 4 hearts of Zhao Du at one time. There is only one heart with the attributes of wind escape, and it is also very weak. After Zhao Du finished the last sentence, Hefeng decisively used the spiral pill to smash the last heart of Zhao Du. Zhao Du closed his eyes calmly, motionless. Hisaka, Danzo, bury all the horns. Hefeng thought about it for a moment. Although his fight with Kakuzu was a mixed result, he was a respectable ninja after all. Throwing the corpse into the wilderness just like this, it doesn't seem to be the case. In order to make the burial of Zhao Du more decent, Hefeng patted his hands with both hands, and used the small 4-pillar family technique to let Rizhen and Danzo put the corpse of Zhao Du in it. I see. Rizhen nodded, not complaining. Although it was the first time he saw Zhao Du, and the positions of the two sides were different. But from Kakuzu's last words, Rizan could feel that he was a ninja worthy of his respect. So, Rizhen made a gesture and asked Danzo to lift up the corpse of Zhao Du together with him, and then put it into the wooden escape of the gentle wind. Afterwards, they walked a distance of more than 100 meters before burying the horns. The masks of grievances that had been destroyed by the gentle wind were also thrown in one by Sun Slash. Finally, the horns were buried and sealed with earth. When everything is finished, Rizhen will go back with Danzang. After Hefeng has used wood to escape, he has created a new 4-pillar home. And let Yan use Huodun to light up all the lanterns on the 4 pillars family art. Rizhen and Danzo looked at each other, and walked in without saying anything. In fact, the art of the 4-pillar house is not just a building, it has everything in its infrastructure. Even hot springs are available. As long as the combination of water escape, soil escape, and fire escape will create a good hot spring. Hefeng will naturally not refuse hot springs. After all, in Hokage, hot springs can be said to be very famous scenes. Hefeng is going to Miamu Mountain to practice celestial arts, but he does not intend to suffer. Have fun in time. In this way, Hefeng's group had a good rest, and when it was dawn the next day, they continued to drive towards Miamu Mountain. At night, find a place where no one is left, and use the 4-pillar family technique to create a new building. As for diet, basically, he can hunt, and the wind won't let Rizhen and others touch the food he prepared. After all, these things are all for enjoying in Miamu Mountain. Hefeng is sure that he will never taste the delicacies of Miamu Mountain in his life. In the following days, no other ninjas were encountered. Advertisement. The journey is relatively easy. It probably took more than a month. The Hefeng group finally found the 3 legendary places of inheritance. Miamu Mountain. The plants here are completely different from the outside world. It looks more like aquatic plants and the like, becoming huge. As this Miamu Mountain, Xiaochun looked around, and could indeed feel that this place was very different from the outside world. The legendary place of inheritance. Danzo couldn't help but murmured as he looked at this place at the same time. For Miamu Mountain, Tuanzang has long been like a thunderbolt. Now that I witnessed it with my own eyes, I was naturally very excited. The most important is, Danzo is very interested in Shanshu. If he can, he also wants to learn immortality here. If I can master Shanshu, my strength will definitely be improved by leaps and bounds. Tuanzang's eyes narrowed slightly. But how exactly can he learn immortality, he doesn't know. However, what should I do after arriving at Miamu Mountain? Yan couldn't help but ask Shang Hefeng. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. In any case, the reason why they came to Miamu Mountain is because of the gentle breeze. The person who knows Miamu Mountain best is undoubtedly a gentle breeze. There isn't even a personal shadow here, can I really learn some fairy art in this kind of place? Yan was skeptical. On the contrary, it was a gentle breeze, and couldn't help but smile softly. What he worries most is that he can't find Miamu Mountain. As long as you can find Miamu Mountain, it is half the battle. In the plot of Naruto, Toad Immortal Jiraiya was sent to Miamu Mountain by forcibly using psychic ninjutsu without signing a contract with Toad. After all, the essence of spiritism is a kind of space-time ninjutsu. On the other hand, Dashawan finally found Longdedong through research and its own unremitting efforts. It's just that his body can't bear the fairy mode. In order to obtain eternal life, Dashimaru has been changing his body with immortality. Although this allowed him to achieve immortality. But the price is obvious. First of all, there is a limit of 3 years for undead turning. Every 3 years, Dashawan must change a body. And within the past 3 years, Dashawan cannot be forced to change. Advertisement. Secondly, this kind of forbidden technique of changing the body frequently makes Dashiwan's mental power very weak. There is basically no resistance to illusion. The body can't bear Shanshu chakra. But, however, Yao Shido also found the Longdi cave through the various information left by the Dash Pill. And learned fairy art there. This is enough to explain. The 3 places of inheritance do not exclude human beings. Even if there are humans visiting, they are still willing to teach fairy skills. Correct. Hefeng suddenly thought that beside the Toad Oil Waterfall, aren't there many stone statues of toads? Those are the losers who have not succeeded in learning fairy art. Judging from the size of the stone statue, among them, there should be the Toad of Miamu Mountain. There is also a part of human beings. Because of the absorption of Shanshu chakra too much, they have become frogs. I never said that I should learn fairy skills from others. The gentle breeze said to everyone, and then continued to deepen. However, within a short while, their actions attracted the attention of a toad. This toad descended from the sky and landed on the ground with a bang, blocking the way of Hefeng and others. At the same time, the impact it caused set off a cloud of dust that spread out to the surroundings. And this toad was about 10 zephyr-sized, like a pile of hills, blocking him. However, it was a crimson toad with patterns on its body. It was wearing a human blouse with a band around its waist and a dagger inserted in it. And the size of this short sword is bigger than Danzo. You guys, who are you? Upon seeing the gentle breeze, Toad said in a tyrannical tone, "Hey, isn't this a human kid?" Its sight was quickly attracted by the gentle wind, but it was unexpected. A human kid, what does he want to come to Miamu Mountain? And many more. Hefeng blinked, and when he saw this toad, he felt familiar. As soon as he spoke now, he suddenly remembered. This guy. Is it Toad Wentai? Chapter 196 Shanshu is very dangerous, 2 more. Advertisement. Hefeng looked at the toad in front of him, the more he looked, the more it looked like Wentai. Wrong. This guy is Toad Bunta, right? And many more. The current frog is too small. It's so small. Of course, this small is relatively speaking. Toad Wentai's body is still much larger than the gentleman. But compared with the world's best toad manta, that's too small. Speaking of which, the size of the toad grows quickly. Hefeng suddenly remembered that in the first part of Naruto, Toad Cat was not as big as Kakashi's dog. As a result, when Pen attacked Konoha, Naruto was already able to stand on Toad Kichi's back. By the time of the Fourth Ninja World War, Toadji's body size was more than several times larger. Thinking of this, Hefeng also relieved that the current Toad text was too big. That's it. Hefeng took a deep breath and greeted Wenta, "We are the ninjas of Konoha village. I came to Miamu Mountain just to learn immortality. Learning fairy art is not a secret. Sooner or later, I have to say. It would be better to tell Toad Wentai directly and let him take him to find Shenzuo, Jima. This is also easier. Secondly, according to the information held by Hefeng, Miamu Mountain does not exclude humans. Almost everyone who comes here can learn immortality. It can even be said that the Toad of Miamu Mountain seems to have a mission. It is to pass on the so-called fairy art to mankind. Just when Toad Wentai heard that Hefeng was coming here to learn immortality, he was taken aback for a moment, and then he burst into laughter, as if to hear the funniest joke in the world. Although the Toad Man is too little in contact with humans, it is not a blank. Zephyr is obviously the kid among humans. It's only a few years old. Suddenly he said that he wanted to learn Shanshu. It makes people laugh out loud. You kid, shouldn't you be serious? You came to our Miamu Mountain, really to learn fairy art, right? Ha ha ha. Toad Wen covered his stomach too much, as if he might faint with a smile at any time. In fact, it's not that it wants to laugh, but what he heard, which is really funny. Advertisement. No way, I'm so ridiculous. Little devil, if you want to learn the magic of our Miamu Mountain, you should come again in another 10 years. It took a long time for Toad Wentai to ease some emotions, and then waved his hand to Hefeng to let him go back. Obviously still a kid. What kind of fairy art? Do you think you are playing house? Is it possible to learn something like Shanshu? Rao is himself, this genius toad, who has never met in Miamu Mountain in a century, dare not say how to learn immortality. If you are not careful, you will turn into a stone statue. Fairy. It's terrible. I have to say that the current Toad Wentai is not as hot as an adult. Seeing Hefeng speak out his purpose, he just kind of persuades him. I think that kind of thing is very dangerous. But anyone who is sensible will not want to contact. Boy, go back, I'm for your own good. However, what Toad Wentai didn't expect was when he looked at Hefeng again. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi, but he found that Hefeng was standing there with a serious face. There is no intention to go back at all. What? Toad Wentai was surprised for a while. Little devil, Shanshu is very dangerous, and it will turn into a stone if you are not careful. Even the uncle, dare not say anything to learn immortality easily. You don't even know how dangerous that thing is, so you can make learning fairy arts so easy. Toad Wen changed his attitude too after seeing Hefeng's seriousness. And what he said made Rizhin and the others even more surprised. If you are not careful, it will turn into a stone. Are you kidding me? In the final analysis, Shanshu is just a means of absorbing natural energy and transforming it into Shanshu chakra. How could it become stone? Rizhan couldn't help returning his doubts. Hope to get the answer from Toad Wentai. Well, what is the specific reason? My uncle is not sure. Anyway, it will become a stone. Toad Wen said without thinking too much. In any case, he hadn't learned something like Shanshu. Miamu Mountain now uses the magical toads that are powerful in immortal arts, and they belong to Master Shen Zuo and Master Jima. They are the only ones who know Shanshu best. Advertisement. However, Toad Wentai did see someone turned into stone. Based on this kind of relationship, he didn't really want to let the humans like Hefeng take risks. Live well, isn't he fragrant? Why have to go and die? It's just that Toad Wentai is not letting the Japanese wind learn immortal arts, and at the same time he can't tell the reason. Let Rizhin and the others couldn't help but doubt that he said so because he was worried that Hefeng could learn the magic arts. Similarly, the person who guards the treasure does not want others to find the treasure. Stare. For a while, Rizhan and others couldn't help but have serious doubts in their eyes, staring at Toad Wentai. This feeling of being questioned by others makes Toad Wen too uncomfortable. Don't you think that what the uncle said is false? Toad Wentai embraced his hands, and looked at the guys in front of him with an unhappy look. Damn it, it's so kind to persuade you, you don't even believe what the uncle said. In short, if you want to learn immortality, this uncle will not let you pass. Upon seeing the breeze, he couldn't help shook his head. I didn't expect the young Toad Wentai to have such a personality. They didn't come to learn immortality. Hefeng had to explain. Oh, Toad Wen looked at Rizhin and the others dubiously. The person who came to Miamu Mountain to learn fairy art is actually just me. They just came with me and helped me carry my luggage. The gentle breeze paused, and continued, okay, stop making trouble, take me to your sir. Okay. Toad Wen was too aware, nodded, and just about to turn around, as if suddenly remembering something, he patted his frog's claws again. A toad is not easy, and Wen looks too angry. Quote, good ghost. It's that you shouldn't learn immortality. Toad Wen was too unhappy and yelled at the wind. In any case, Hefeng is just a human imp. He wants Shanshu. He is learning. Don't look at me like this, I'm very strong. Hefeng patted his chest. I can't learn fairy skills. Don't worry, take me to your adult. He looked confidently. Toad Wen can't help but become even more puzzled. This human little devil came out of there with a stunned head. Why can't he understand Toad words? Shanshu is really dangerous, okay. Is it really possible, are very likely to become a rock? Hateful. Toad Wen took a deep breath. Since you say you are very strong, do you dare to challenge this uncle? Chapter 197 A Face to Face, kill Toad Wentai in seconds 3 more. Advertisement. Seeing the unwillingness to give up the wind, Toad Wen was too speechless in his heart. Does this human kid want to turn into stone so impatiently? Obviously it's for his own good, so why don't you obey? Damn human cubs. There is no other way. This uncle can only use his own strength to make this little devil recognize reality. This world is not revolving around him. Things like Shanshu are not something you can learn if you want to learn it. If you are not careful, it will turn into stone. Since you are so confident, do you dare to challenge this uncle? Toad Wen was too loud, and said to the breeze. Its size is more than 10 times bigger than the wind, in terms of strength. Toad Wentai felt that he could calm the wind with only one hand. Even if he is a ninja who can use ninjutsu. I didn't panic at all. A human imp, even if it can use ninjutsu, it's not as good as that. Toad Wen thought to himself too. However, because of his full momentum, he instantly attracted the attention of a lot of toads. Even Toad Guang and Toad Qi jumped up. In addition, there are large and small toads, watching. In any case, Toad Wentai is a figure in Miamu Mountain. Among the younger generation, there is no toad that can compare with it. According to the words of the human world, that is to beat the invincible hand all over the world. So when I heard that Toad Wen was about to fight with others, these toads all encircled in enthusiasm. As for why, these toads don't care. Hefeng looked up and down Toad Wentai. Are you sure, you want to do it with me? Hefeng couldn't help feeling a little funny in his heart. He likes this simple and rude way. Really fighting. I haven't been afraid of anyone. Are you afraid? Toad Wen waved his hand too impatiently. If you are afraid, then go back and forth from there. Lest other toads say, I'm too frog to bully you. However, Hefeng did not intend to back down. He looked at Wentai with interest. Toad Wentai, don't be too confident. Speaking too much, be careful to flash your tongue, what if you lose? Jokingly, the failure of Toad Wentai is already doomed. Advertisement. My uncle will lose. Stop joking, don't say you are a human kid. Toad Wen pointed at the 4 people behind Hefeng. Even if you go together, it is impossible to be my uncle's opponent. Seeing the extremely arrogant Toad Wentai, Rizhan and others couldn't help raising their foreheads. For a while, I don't know what to say. This guy. I really don't know how terrifying the breeze is. Actually want to fight him. Live well, is he okay? Next second, Rizhin, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan. The four people took a few steps back tacitly. It looked like it was to make more room for Japanese style and Toad scripture. Although Toad Fumata's size is indeed scary, he thinks of the ninjutsu mastered by Hefeng. And weird power. They really can't imagine the picture that the wind will lose. Even at this moment, they couldn't help feeling a little distressed by Toad Wentai. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. This big toad obviously didn't know what kind of kid he was talking to. Who can't speak big words? But what if you lose? Or, do you plan to go back on the bill? Hefeng spread his hands, and was too provocative towards Toad. And these words naturally made Toad Wen too uncomfortable. It slapped its thigh fiercely, and shouted loudly, if this uncle loses, I will take you to see Master Shen Zuo, how about it? But if you lose, kid. Hefeng heard the words, and the corners of his mouth rose, and a smile appeared. I lose. That is impossible. Don't say it's you now, it's you in the peak and heyday of the future. It is impossible to be my current opponent. If I lose, then I won't step into Miamu Mountain for life. The wind is also a thrilling sound, and it is opposite to the Toad Wentazi. No one showed weakness. The air seemed to freeze for 3 seconds at this moment. Toad Wentai turned around and spoke to his companions, letting them testify. Although I don't know what the Toad Wentai is doing, they still do it honestly. Then, Toad Wenta began to move his muscles and bones, and made a gesture toward the gentle breeze. It seems to be saying that once the breeze is ready, it can rush up at any time. Yes, it is. Advertisement. The current Toad Wentai is so confident. In its view, it looked like a human imp, like Hefeng. His fists are not powerful at all. Hit yourself, it won't hurt or itchy. Even Toad Guang and Toad Qi behind Toad Wentai couldn't help but have black lines on their faces. I think Wentai is bullying Hefeng. Don't talk about the duel. A little devil like Hefeng. Just let him swing his fists day and night, and the superimposed power would not hurt Toad Wentai. Even if you look at the entire Miamu Mountain, there are not many toads that can beat the Toad Wentai. For a moment, the toads onlookers couldn't help but sound a boo. Everyone feels that Toad Wentai is bullying people. If that's the case, then I'm not polite, Wentai. Hefengdu was really not polite. He kicked his feet directly and jumped up from the ground, and instantly passed the top of Toad Wentai's head. Soon, Hefeng raised his right leg and aimed at the top of Toad Wentai's head, like a sharp axe, and slammed it down. The speed was so fast that it drove the air to form a flow of air and howled towards Toad Wentai. The chakra between the pillars was condensed by the gentle breeze on his heel, and went straight to Toad Wentai. It hurts my feet. The majestic power fell like a mountain, and hit the Toad Wentai severely. The aura is good, but for a small human imp, most of the attacks are soft, but there is no way this can be done. However, before Toad Wen was too arrogant to finish his words, Hefeng's heel suddenly landed on its head. Being given a second by a human kid. Press its body to the ground. The audience was shocked. Hefeng unreservedly used his strange power and went straight to Toad Wentai. All the toads took a breath. Toad Wentai's eyes seemed to have lost his pupils, his tongue stretched out, and he lost consciousness on the spot. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. But Wentai Toad didn't realize the seriousness of the problem, so it couldn't help but chuckle. A crack like a spider web was left on the ground. Rumble. What a joke. How strong is this guy? Accompanied by a loud noise, the Toad Man grabbed the ground too much with his head, the whole ground began to crack layer by layer, and countless flying rocks rolled out. That incredible Toad Wentai, unexpectedly. Who let this uncle? Chapter 198 Toad Wentai's stress response 1 more. Advertisement. All toads are without exception. Before Hefeng and Wentai started their hands, they had confirmed in their hearts that Wentai was bullying people. You know, Wentai is not a big toad with brute force. Whether it is power, or swordsmanship, ninjutsu, it is one of the best toads on Miamu Mountain. There are basically no rivals among the younger generation. Even Toad Guang and Toad Qi are inferior to Wentai. In the eyes of these toads, it can be said that there was no suspense from the beginning. Don't talk about Hefeng, a 7-year-old kid. Even if the ninjas behind him went together, they might not be Toad Wenta's opponent. However, just when everyone firmly believed in this. However, Hefeng showed amazing strength. After a painful time came down, he directly gave the text too soon. Give me seconds. Seconds. Up. All the toads who witnessed this scene took a breath, only feeling that they were slapped severely by the gentle breeze. Do not. This is not as simple as a face slap. This is obviously rubbing their faces on the ground. Toad was scared to death. Wentai was defeated by a human kid. Didn't I have some hallucinations? Probably not, because I have seen it too. It's the same for me, that kid kicked Wentai and fainted with just one kick. And you look at the ground. The toads looked at the ground under Wentai. The ground was broken into pieces, like a spider web. Such an amazing destructive power completely subverted their cognition. Is this really a human imp? What power it should have? This is too scary. That's too much toad text. Miao Mushin's younger generation carries handles. Brother Wentai, I was defeated. Toad Guang took a deep breath. Until now it has been difficult to accept this fact. Brother Wentai is not like me, he is not sluggish at all, his reaction speed is very fast. Toad Jian also looked shocked. It is difficult to accept the fact that the Toad Man is too defeated. Hefeng, this human kid. It's too exaggerated. Huh. The wind slowly fell to the ground, standing firmly in the gravel, and then looked at Toad Wentai. However, Wentai was lying on the ground stiffly, motionless, as if Venus appeared above his head. I'm a bit too late. Suddenly knocked the toad stun too much. Wentai, is this weak? Advertisement. Hefeng looked embarrassed. In my impression, Toad Wentai is a psychic beast that can use his own power to stiffen his tail. Even Kyuubi has played against it. It doesn't make sense to be stunned if it hurts. However, Zefeng quickly reacted. The current Toad Wentai hasn't grown up yet. The strength is naturally incomparable. That's why there is a situation of being killed by one's own strange power. But, to fight this matter, after all, Toad Wentai proposed. The toads around are witness toads. Know the ins and outs. I also understand that there is nothing malicious about Hefeng. So these toads were just marveling at the strength of Hefeng, and did not embarrass Hefeng after the toad was defeated too much. Most importantly, they can't beat the wind. Of course, they did not leave either. Instead, he stayed here to accompany Hefeng, until Toad Wen was too slow to wake up. On the one hand, they were all required to be witnesses by Toad Wentai. On the other hand, Toad Fumata has always claimed to carry a handle in Miamu Mountain, and is now defeated by a human imp. They were very curious about Toad Wentai's reaction. After all, both humans and toads have the mentality of eating melons. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Hey, if you knew it earlier, you don't need to blame it. Hefeng couldn't help but vomit. If he knew that, he should use the wood dragon technique to restrain the Toad Wentai and force it to surrender. This time is good, the ghost knows when Toad Wentai will wake up. But the words came back. In any case, Toad Wentai was knocked out by herself. If you just throw it here. It seems not so good either. I came to Miamu Mountain to learn immortality, not to show off my strength. I was too helpless to take action against Wen. Hefeng shook his head, simply found a fairly clean place, and waited until Toad Wen too woke up. Rizhen and the others put their luggage away and waited slowly with Hefeng. However, the scene of Hefeng killing Toad Wentai in a flash, really scared them. Although he knows that Hefeng's strength is not trivial, but a toad as big as Wentai was killed by Hefeng with one move. His strength now seems to have become stronger. A strange power unique to the Thousand Hands clan. Time passed by every minute and every second. When Hefeng felt bored, Toad Wentai gradually regained his intuition. He moved his fingers and breathed slowly, and then he felt a sharp pain. As if the brain hit the rock, the pain was cracking. Ah, Toad Wentai took a deep breath, stood up from the ground grinning, and then covered his head. I just feel the buzzing sound in my ears. The brain is blank. Who am I? Advertisement. Where am I? What am I doing? What just happened? At this time, Toad Wen was too awkward. It tried to remember what had happened. Then, a human cub slowly emerged in its mind. Why do you want to go to Miamu Mountain to learn Shanshu? Then, Wentai shook his brain and continued to think backward. Slowly recalled all the details. He allowed the human imp to take action on him, and let the toad around him as a witness. Afterwards, the human kid jumped up and shot himself. 1 foot down. I am unconscious. Okay. 1 step down. I am too unconscious. Just kidding. In this world, how could there be such a terrifying human imp? Beat me Toad Wentai with 1 kick. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Toad Wentai strongly shook his head, trying to deny this fact. Either I didn't wake up, or I just woke up. Correct. I got up from the ground. All the memories just now were dreams. There are no human imps at all. There is no duel. He has not been defeated by a human imp. Ha ha ha. So everything is dreaming. It's a weird dream. My uncle will be defeated by a human kid in the dream. Ha ha ha. Due to the shock, Toad Wentai's brain activated the stress response. Strongly reject the truth. Even, he did not hesitate to fabricate false memories to deny the facts. Wentai, I was not dreaming just now. Seeing it in the breeze, he couldn't help but spit out black lines on his face. This toad man is too, as for such a big reaction. Is it strange to be defeated by yourself? I'm obviously very strong, okay. Chapter 199. The background is too big, we Miamushin can't afford it at all. 2 more. Advertisement. Unable to believe the fact that he was defeated by a human imp, Toad Wentai even had a false memory, and his brain made up for the fact that he was dreaming. The toads surrounding them all had black lines on their faces. But think about it, being defeated by a 7-year-old kid. It's really not that easy to accept. Toad Wentai would have this reaction, but it was normal. But, Hefeng quickly straightened up from a clean stone, and walked in front of Toad Wentai in 3 steps in 2 steps. You guy, don't you want to make a mistake? Hefeng couldn't help but complain. In the next second, Toad Wentai's laughter stopped abruptly, and his expression was stunned. Blinking his eyes, he looked down at the wind. In an instant, the frog was too dull and stood on the spot. All false memories are self-defeating at this moment. It's not just the gentle breeze standing in front of me. Rizhen, Danzo, Yan, and Xiaochun all appeared in its sight. What just happened is not a dream. But, bloody facts. I was indeed defeated by a human kid with only 1 move. This incident shocked Toad Wentai's heart to a great extent, making it impossible to laugh at all. But, the other toads did not laugh at the Toad Wentai. Although Hefeng is only a 7-year-old kid, he has demonstrated strength. It's amazing. No toad thinks that he will be the opponent of the gentle wind. Even they feel like a ninja with such a strong Japanese style without exception. Defeating Toad Wentai is not a fantasy. On the contrary, he has such a terrifying strength at the age of 7, and he is the real fantasy. Too frightening. This incident simply subverted their cognition. Even Toad Wentai couldn't calm down his emotions for a while. It sucked in a big breath and added a loud slap in the face. As a result, Toad Wentai's cheek only felt hot and painful. This is not a dream at all. But even so, Toad Wentai was still unacceptable. It turned to look at Toad Guang, and the two brothers of Toad Jian weakly asked, I was really defeated by this human kid. Toad Guang and Toad Jian looked at each other, exchanged eyes, then turned their heads to face Toad Wentai, and nodded in a tacit understanding. Not only was it defeated, but it took only one round. A face-to-face, you will be second. Advertisement. Toad Wen was too stunned. It has now recovered all its memories, and it actually knows the truth in its heart. It's just hard to accept this fact. But now, dozens of toads are surrounding here, acting as witnesses to this duel. Even Toad Wentai, there is no way to fall back. Besides, Toad Wentai is not a toad that can't afford to lose, it's just too shocking, unacceptable for a while. I will be defeated by a 7-year-old human imp. Okay. After several minutes of calmness, Toad Wentai completely accepted this fact and faced the truth. I didn't expect that you kid would be so powerful. It's true that I lost the toad essay too much. Well, don't worry, my Toad Wen is never a shameless toad. Since you have won me, I will fulfill what you promised before. Take you to see Master Shen Zuo. Toad Wentai explained to the gentle breeze. However, Toad Wentai was also very curious about Hefeng in his heart. Why is this kid so strong? Speaking of which, you are from Konoha village. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Toad Wentai suddenly remembered that when Hefeng first came, he reported to himself that he was a ninja from Konoha hidden village. Came to Miamu mountain to learn fairy skills. It's just that the toad man at the time was too indifferent to the gentle breeze. Think he was joking. So I didn't care too much. After being defeated by the Japanese wind and facing him again, Toad Wentai remembered this incident. Konoha village. That is to say, this human kid is a ninja. Toad Guang could not help interjecting, no wonder his strength is so powerful, it turns out to be a ninja. Although the toads in front of Hefeng live in Miamu mountain, they are not living in isolation from the world. Ninjas have found this place before Hefeng. Although he failed to learn the magic here, he was recognized by Toad and signed a psychic contract. In other words, a considerable part of the toads here have been channeled to the human battlefield to fight with ninjas. As for the ninja world, Konoha hidden village has the largest area, the most fertile land, and the most powerful combat power. These toads from Miamu mountain are naturally heard. Among them, the first generation of Hokage, the name of Senjuzuma. They are even more thunderous. He is not only the god of ninjas, but also the man who masters the most perfect fairy mode. If you say that, then you should know Senjuzuma, right? I heard that he is a very powerful ninja. Toad Guang asked casually. Advertisement. In his opinion, like a famous ninja between the pillars, even Miamu mountain is like thunder. As the gentle breeze of a human imp, it is impossible not to know it. Result. What the toads at the scene didn't expect was that after Hefeng heard the name Zujian, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, and a smile appeared. He has not only heard of this name. It's so familiar to you that you can't be familiar anymore. That's his grandfather. Of course I have heard of it. Not only have I heard of it, but also very familiar. Hefeng paused, and had no intention of concealing it. Hefeng said lightly, he is my grandfather. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar. All the toads who heard this sentence, without exception, took a breath. Toad Wentai's two eyes were even more staring as if they would jump out of the eye sockets at any time, and his jaw was about to fall to the ground in shock. What? Toad Guang, the whole toad is stupid. It never dreamed of the legendary god of ninja. The strongest shadow in the 5 ninja village. Turns out to be the grandfather of this little devil in front of me. Doesn't this mean that Hefeng is the grandson of Zujian? It's too big. Konoha, the strongest household in the ninja world. If this is the toad man who accidentally gave the breeze to the second. Oh no. This unremarkable little devil turned out to be the grandson of the original Hokage. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. All the toads looked at the Toad Wenta. The 3 places of inheritance will be renamed to the 2 places of inheritance from now on. What kind of existence did I provoke? Toad Wentai sighed inwardly. The origin of this human imp. That Zujian, known as the god of ninjas, was afraid that Miamu mountain would be destroyed directly. We, Miamushan, simply can't afford it. This background is too big. They can't help but rejoice. Fortunately, the toad text is too short of the gentle breeze. The grandson of the ninja god. Even Toad Wentai didn't know what to say. Chapter 200 First sight of Toad Deep Work 3 more. Advertisement. I thought he was just an ordinary human imp. Never imagined that his background was so big. The grandson of the ninja god. At this moment, even Toad Wentai, who had been unable to believe that he was defeated, was completely relieved. If it's the grandson of that person in Senjujuma. Hefeng possesses such terrifying power, as if it is not illogical. Even at this moment, Toad Wentai felt fortunate. Fortunately, the strength of Hefeng is strong enough. Otherwise, he accidentally injured Hefeng. That ninja in Senjujuma can't find himself desperately. When the time comes, he will directly level Miamu Mountain in a rage, and that will be terrible. The guy in front of him is, after all, the grandson of that ninja. The background is too big. I can't afford it. This kid is simply the strongest person in the ninja world. I knew he had such a big background, so why should I take this extra step and take him directly to see Master Shenzuo? Toad Wen feels too regretful that his intestines are going to be blue. I didn't expect to encounter such hard stubble as Hefeng. Follow. Come with me. It took a long time for Toad Wentai to forcefully suppress his emotions, and then slowly spoke to Hefeng, letting him come with him. It's time to take this kid to see Master Shenzuo. The other toads stared at the Hefeng one after another, like a tide, retreating to both sides, giving Hefeng, and the Sunslash and others behind him, away to the depths of Miamu Mountain. When I heard that Hefeng is the grandson of the pillars, every toad's heart was shocked. The strongest household in the ninja world will come to Miamu Mountain. By the way, kid, what's your name? Toad Wen thought a little too much. I think it's a bit inappropriate to call it a Japanese kid. Just call me Peace. The wind is also easygoing, and he didn't regard what happened just now as the same thing. In fact, this matter is really nothing. Zephyr treats it only as a small episode. On the contrary, it was Rijin and others. Seeing this scene before me, I was surprised. Advertisement. Although Senju Zuma is indeed a man called the god of ninjas, they have always thought that this is only in the ninja world. Never thought that even the toad of Miamu Mountain had heard of the name of Shinshujujian. And respect him very much. So the original Hokage-sama, is that amazing? Xiaochun blinked. After all, she was only 14 or 5 years old. When Shinshujujian became famous, she was still a baby. It seems that we have all underestimated the prestige of Master Zhu Jian. Rizan let out a laugh. In any case, they are not in the same era as Zhu Jian. They still don't know enough about the matter between the pillars. After knowing that Hefeng is the grandson of Zhu Jian, Toad Wen's attitude seemed to have undergone a big change of 180 degrees. In a short while, with a gentle breeze, I found Lord Shenzuo of Miamu Mountain. At this time, Shenzuo is exercising. Wait, Toad Wen was too aware, and quickly stopped Hefeng and others, so that they would not disturb Master Shenzuo. Rizan and the others were naturally fascinated and stood silently, looking towards Shenzuo. What they didn't expect was that Mr. Shenzuo in the mouth of Toad Wentai. It turned out to be a toad the size of a cat. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. Compared with Toad Wentai, it's not worth mentioning. Even Xiaochun and Yan wondered whether Toad Wen would step on the deep sauce directly if he stepped down too much. Only the wind, staring at Shenzuo with a flat face, and guessed its next plan. Today's Shenzuo was standing in front of a frog stone statue, and saw its hands clasped together, motionless, as if completely still into the picture. If it is not for the deep color of the body, Sun Zan and others will doubt if it is also a stone statue. What is it doing? Xiaochun blinked, not quite sure what Shenzuo wanted to do. She couldn't understand Shenzuo's operation at all. In fact, it's not just Xiaochun. Even Yan and Danzo are full of confused eyes. Can't figure out his head. Rijin's eyes narrowed slightly, and he activated his ability to perceive chakra. Soon he discovered that the chakra in the deep body was increasing for no reason. Moreover, the quality is extremely high. Rao is a well-experienced Sarutobi Hizen, and he has never seen this kind of chakra. It's amazing. How did it do it? Rizan rolled his throat, swallowed nervously, and couldn't help asking. However, before the toad could speak too much, Hefeng first said, "This is Shanshu chakra." Advertisement. It's also the purpose of my trip to Miamu Mountain. It's just that Hefeng didn't expect that as soon as he came here, he would be fortunate to witness such a scene. You seem to know Shanshu very well. Toad Wen looked down at Hefeng too much. I always feel that he is not the first time he has come into contact with Shanshu. At a glance, he could see what Mr. Shenzuo was doing. Well, listen to what my grandfather said. Hefeng tossed the pot without thinking, and continued to watch the works. Soon, Shenzuo absorbed enough natural energy and merged with his own physical energy and spiritual energy in a certain proportion to form the Shanshu chakra. Next second, Shensaku stretched his hands to the bottom of the huge stone statue. What does it want to do? Xiaochun was stunned, a little incomprehensible for a while. The stone statue like a toad is at least several hundred times deep in size. Isn't it trying to use brute force to lift it up? How can this kind of thing be done? This toad man is too deep in the mouth. It seems, not very clever. In fact, not only Xiaochun, but Yan and Danzo, who lacked knowledge of Shanshu, also questioned Shenshu's ability. No matter how you look at it, it is many times smaller than this stone statue. They didn't know anything about Shanshu and Lord Shenzuo. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. It was even more dazed as a stunner, just feeling that his own cognition had been subverted at this moment. Toad Wen was proud of his face, as if the toad lifting up a stone statue was it. You look optimistic. Toad Wentai was quite proud. The more these humans questioned, the more they would be slapped in the face. It should be Hefeng who wants to come to Miamu Mountain to learn. Friendly reminder, don't blink. It's so celestial. In full view, the deep-acting frog hand held up the bottom of the huge stone statue, slowly exerting force. Recut, Danzo, Yan, Xiaochun. In this way, the bottom of the stone statue gradually separated from the ground, and the most primitive brute force was forced to lift it up. Shanshu. As the toad man spoke too much, Rizhin and the others held their breath, not daring to blink their eyes for fear that they might miss something. Soon. Then, the toad of Miamu Mountain is too strong. Soon after, they realized. Chapter 201 I am not young anymore, I am 7 years old. One more. Advertisement. After seeing Shen Zuo's performance, Rizan realized why Hefeng was so obsessed with Shanshu that he did not hesitate to come to this Miamu Mountain. Even a small toad like Shen Zuo can gain such an exaggerated power after using Shanshu. If Hefeng has mastered the fairy technique, then how terrifying his power should be. Don't talk about the gentle breeze, I just saw Shanshu, and now I want to experience it. Shanshu chakra is amazing. After Shen Zuo merged with Shanshu chakra, it became one with nature, making its perception ability countless times stronger. For Hefeng and others, Shen Zuo noticed them without even looking. However, Shen Zuo was not in a hurry to talk to Hefeng and others. He focused his attention on the stone statue in his hand and held it for 50 times before slowly placing the stone statue on the ground. Today's deep work is much younger than when he taught Naruto. Its physical strength is naturally better than it was at that time, not too much. Under such high-intensity exercise, deep strokes did not even breathe. Put the stone statue in a stable place, turn around after deep work, and come to Hefeng and the others. Master Shen Zuo. Toad Wen was too quick to explain the reason. These humans are all ninjas from Konoha village. They came to Miamu Mountain precisely to learn immortality. Among them, the youngest one is the grandson of the original Hokage. Such shocking news made Shen Zuo startled. Even the current deep work, the name of the Sensho Zuma, is like a thunder. Hello, my name is Hefeng. Hefeng reported to his family, and then introduced Rizhin and others. On the contrary, he looked at the breeze up and down in an unbelievable manner. As the existence of Miamu Mountain, Shen Zuo is second only to the big toad immortal, and its understanding of the human world is still very high. Hefeng looks like he is only 6 or 7 years old. Converted to the toad of Miamu Mountain. The current Zephyr is obviously still the tadpole stage. Suddenly said that he wanted to learn immortality or something. This kind of thing is still too outrageous. Shanshu is not so easy to learn. Shen Zuo glanced at the frog stone statue beside him, and then asked Shang Hefeng and others, do you think these stone statues come from where? Rizan and others shook their heads, expressing that they didn't know. Advertisement. From the appearance, these stone statues are lifelike, as if they will come to life at any time. Such a realistic stone statue must have been made by a certain master. However, when Zan said his guess that day, Shen Zuo shook his head with a heavy expression, denying Rizan's conjecture. How can it be? These stone statues are all losers who have not succeeded in learning immortal arts. Among them, there are our toads from Miamu Mountain, and there are also ninjas from the human world. The frog on the side heard the words too much, and his eyes emitted a golden light, and he quickly echoed the words of Shen Zuo. I said, the failure of learning immortality will turn into a stone. Now you are always willing to believe it. That's why I said that Shanshu is very dangerous, even I dare not try it easily. Looking at the bloody lesson, the desire of Sun Zan and others to be exposed to Shanshu was greatly reduced. Although they want to learn this kind of ninjutsu, they become stone statues or something. Don't do it anymore. Only Hefeng, after Shen Zuo said these words, still remained indifferent. Because of this kind of thing, he had known it a long time ago. And he also knew that there was a black rod in Shen Zuo's hand. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. As long as the power of the black rod is caught, the natural energy can be shot out of the body in time. Make sure you don't become a stone statue. And, who is he? The grandson of the original Hokage. The first household in Muyeyin village. Rao is Miamu Mountain, and it is a face-saving existence. If she asks to learn immortal arts, Shen Zuo will definitely not hide her privately. However, why did it become a stone statue? Xiaochun looked around, startled by the number of stone statues. The so-called Shanshu is just absorbing the natural energy that exists in this world. Shen Zuo looked at Xiaochun and simply explained. In its view, the principle of Shanshu is not a secret. Because it is very difficult to learn immortality, and if you are not careful, you will become a stone statue, even if the cultivation method of immortality is disclosed to the public. Those who can't learn, also can't learn. Since you are all ninjas, then you should know that the so-called chakra is actually the special energy formed by fusing the physical energy and spiritual energy in the body together, right? Shen asked rhetorically. Rizan and the others looked at each other, then nodded together. They naturally understand the principle of chakra. Advertisement. Yeah, Shen Zuo nodded in satisfaction, at least knowing that he was not playing the piano against the cow. It is much more convenient to explain this way. The Shanshu chakra is the fusion of natural energy absorbed from the outside world in physical energy and spiritual energy. Fusion of these three energies in a certain ratio, you can get Shanshu chakra. However, the whole process is based on the premise of being able to integrate with nature. In other words, you must first become a part of nature before you can perceive natural energy and absorb it into your body. Taking a deep breath, with his hands behind his back, he looked at the stone statues on both sides of the road, and his tone was full of sighs. However, natural energy is very dangerous. Once inhaled too much, it will completely become a part of nature. It's also turned into stone. As soon as these words came out, Rizhin and others took a breath without exception, marveling at the power of natural energy and at the same time marveling at the danger of natural energy. For a time, Xiaochun directly retreated. She originally wanted to learn Shanshu with Hefeng. After thinking about it now, she decided to give up this idea. For the reaction of Rizhin and others, Shen Zuo had already guessed it in his heart. After all, they are not the only ninjas who came to Miamu Mountain to obtain fairy skills. However, Shen Zuo quickly found out. Even if he said that Shanshu was so dangerous, Hefeng's eyes were still clear and bright. There is not a trace of confusion. Not even the slightest fear. His heart is calm. It's as if turning into a stone statue is not considered the same thing at all. Among all those who visit Miamu Mountain and want to learn immortality. Gentle, it can be said to be the most calm and confident one. And what is rare is that he seems to be only 6 or 7 years old. Maybe this is the so-called newborn calf not afraid of tigers. Shen Zuo smiled and thought to himself. Then, it persuaded him to retreat to the wind, so, it is really dangerous if you want to learn immortality. I suggest you wait until you grow up. Come here again and try to learn fairy art. For you now, Shanshu is still too early. Shen Zuo said with a smile. But who knows, Hefeng shook his head firmly, I'm not young anymore, I am 7 years old this year. Chapter 202 Check-in again. Fairy mode. 2 more. Advertisement. 7 years old. Shen Zuo looked at Hefeng's self-confidence, and he couldn't help feeling a little speechless. It really wants to complain. What does it mean to be 7 years old? Obviously still a kid. Learn the magic of a hammer. However, just when Shen Zuo wanted to shout out this sentence, it suddenly fell into thought. Konoha village is not close to Miamu Mountain. Hefeng and a group of people come here, the fastest they have to be in months. And the identity of Hefeng is the grandson of the original Hokage. If you just drive him back like this, it seems Miamushin is rude. Okay. Thinking of this, Shen Zuo's tone relaxed. In its view, instead of ordering Hefeng to leave Miamu Mountain, it would be better to let him give up. In that case, come with me. Shen Zuo rolled his eyeballs, thought of a way, and then jumped around. No matter what the reaction of Hefeng and others, he left here. Seeing it in a gentle breeze, apart from anything else, the striding meteor followed. Rizhin and others looked at each other and exchanged their eyes. Before coming to Miamu Mountain, they envisioned countless possibilities. But I didn't expect that Shen Zuo would actually agree to be so happy. For a time it was beyond their expectations. It must be due to the relationship between the masters between the pillars. Rizhin took a deep breath, attributed the attitude of Shen Zuo to the pillars who were not here, and followed. The same is true for others. Toad Wen hesitated a little too much, and decided to follow. Although it does not support contact with Shanshu at such a young age, Master Shen Zuo agreed. It has nothing to say. It's just that the news that Hefeng wants to learn Shanshu quickly spread throughout Miamu Mountain. Countless toads began to move, heading to the Toad Oil Waterfall, when Hefeng followed Shen Zuo to come here. A lot of toads have gathered here. In addition, he quickly killed Toad Wenta with a single stroke, and this human kid who was only 7 years old became a word-of-mouth character in Toad's mouth. Shen Zuo stopped, turned around and started to explain to Hefeng and others. If you want to refine the fairy art chakra, integrating with nature is a compulsory course. It will take a long time. However, I can let you experience what it feels like to absorb natural energy. As he spoke deeply, he fumbled a black stick out of his body. Hefeng's heart felt calm when he saw the black stick. The frog oil falls here. As long as you apply the oil to your skin, you can sense natural energy and absorb it into your body. Advertisement. However, Shen Zuo did not directly explain the role of the black stick. Because in its view, learning fairy skills at the age of 7 is basically a dream. No matter how Hefeng was a wizard, he couldn't master powerful immortality at this age. It would be better to use toad oil to let the wind experience the fear of turning into a stone statue. So that he completely dispelled this idea. As for the black stick, it was used at a critical juncture to knock out the natural energy in his body. In any case, Hefeng is the grandson of the ninja god Senjujuma. Even if it's a deep work, it's more or less to give some face. If you are ready, take off your clothes. Shen Zuo paused for a while and continued, of course, if you are scared, you can give up. When you are older, come to Miamu Mountain. Even now, Shen Zuo hopes Hefeng can give up. Because a 7-year-old kid wants to learn some magic, it is really outrageous. These ninjas are not easy either. Shen Zuo glanced at Sun Slash and the others, and thought to himself. The reason why these people came here with the breeze. Mostly because he is the grandson of Hokage. That's why they were forced to become gentle nanny. For a time, these people can't help but feel sorry for them. But Shen Zuo can understand. Hefeng, as the grandson of Zujian, must have been spoiled by him since he was a child. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Now it is reasonable to have a ninja as his bodyguard. When the breeze sees it, it will naturally not refuse. The purpose of his coming to Miamu Mountain is to learn this immortal technique. Now, where is the reason to retreat? What Hefeng didn't expect was. Just when he was about to take off Yori, a long-lost voice suddenly rang in his mind. The cooling time of the check-in system is over. Close black lens bracket. Whether to check in now. Close black lens bracket. Hefeng blinked his eyes, but he didn't expect the sound of the punch card system to sound at this moment. It is worth mentioning that Hefeng's clock-in system is not a daily clock-in. But every time you finish punching the card, the cooling time will be extended. For example, the first time the card was clocked in, the cooling time was only 24 hours, and the second time it was 48 hours. Up to now, almost 2 months have passed since the last time I clocked in. Due to the long cooling time in the middle, Hefeng once left the punching card behind. It's just this time. Hefeng thought about it for a while, and decided to check in first. Anyway, the process has already been mastered. It won't take long. Then, advertisement. Over and over again, Kazuo slowed down the action of taking off Haori as much as possible, and confirmed it in his mind over and over. Congratulations to the host for successfully clocking in. Close black lens bracket. Get a check-in package. Close black lens bracket. Whether to open now. Close black lens bracket. Yes. As Hefeng confirmed again, various rewards flashed in his mind. And he was at this level, slowly taking off Haori. Expose his skin. Click. The picture finally freezes. There was another voice in Hefeng's mind. Congratulations to the host for opening the check-in package. Close black lens bracket. Reward. Fairy Mode Naruto Edition LV5. Close black lens bracket. Zefeng. My XXX. My XXXXX. Hefeng froze on the spot, and he couldn't wait to greet Uchiha Madara's family. Didn't you play like this? It took me nearly 2 months to find Miamu Mountain. Finally, I started to learn Shanshu. Result. In the punch card package, I got it. This lottery chance is fake, right? It's really outrageous. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. This, I can't even say. Suppress impulsive emotions. Hefeng took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. It's too ridiculous. Now I am drawn to the fairy mode, which is the Naruto version. And I'm not really a genius, maybe the process of learning immortality will take years as a unit. Just treat me as the Emperor of Europe. Calm down and think about it. Even if I find Miamu Mountain and want to learn immortality, it will not be 100% successful. It's not such a coincidence, right? Call. Saving a lot of time. It's not a chieftain. For a time, Hefeng didn't know whether he was the European Emperor or the Fae. Say yes, the chance of getting the fairy model is less than 1 in 1,000. Do you know how much time and energy it took to find Miamu Mountain? Chapter 203 The most perfect fairy model was born, 3 more. Advertisement. What's wrong, gentle breeze? Seeing Hefeng staying still in place, Shen Zuo thought he was afraid. If you don't want to, there is no need to force it. Toad of Miamu Mountain. Rizan et al., turning their heads one after another, watching the current breeze. They all thought that he was at this crucial step, and feared. That's why he hasn't stepped forward. However, the truth is that the current Hefeng has successfully mastered the fairy mode through the punch card just now. Moreover, it is the perfect version of Naruto. If I tell the things about learning the fairy mode and make them deeply, I will definitely be shocked. But, the breeze seemed hesitant for a while. If you just give up like this, turn your head and leave Miamu Mountain. It will not hit their emotions. But I am afraid that I will not bear the label of weakness. What's more, Sunzan and others are still watching. In any case, I can't leave it alone. Hefeng raised his head and looked around. Today, I am attracting attention and being highly anticipated. Forget it. Kazuka shook his head, and threw the taken off Haori to Hisaki who was aside, and then walked to Shinsaku in 3 steps in 2 steps. Seeing the unwavering zephyr, Shen Zuo didn't say anything. It stretched out its finger, lightly dipped a part of toad oil, and then applied it to Hefeng's arm. If you apply too much frog oil, the wind will absorb a lot of natural energy at once. If you are not careful, you may become a stone statue. So when dealing with this matter, deep work is also extra careful. Well, this way, you can perceive natural energy. Then, Shen Zuo gave another demonstration toward the Japanese wind, holding the black stick tightly in his right hand, and was ready to beat the Japanese wind. In fact, Hefeng does not want to do this now, but no way. Who made Shen Zuo push himself to this point? Can only be shot. Rizhen, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan all held their breath, not even daring to blink their eyes. I'm afraid of what will go wrong with the breeze. Master Shen Zuo, is it really okay? Natural energy is so dangerous, wouldn't the gentle breeze turn into a stone statue? Xiaochun couldn't help asking Shen Zuo. Worried about the safety of the wind. Shen Zuo glanced at Xiaochun, the corners of his mouth raised, and he smiled and said, "Don't worry, at that point, I will take action to prevent Hefeng from turning into a stone statue. Just rest assured." After she said that, he stared at Hefeng to make sure he wouldn't have any accidents. Advertisement. Hefeng patted with both hands and closed his eyes slightly. Based on the reward just drawn, Hefeng can now easily enter the immobile state. Even, the gentle breeze does not need to use something like toad oil to perceive that natural energy is gathering around him. However, his current body is only 7 years old. Chakras are so few and pitiful. It is simply not enough for him to absorb natural energy and extract the Shanshu chakra. Then, the wind started to use chakra between pillars. Shen Zuo frowned instantly, worried that Hefeng would absorb too much natural energy and turn into a stone statue. His attention was all focused on Hefeng. However, it never expected that the gentle chakras started to increase slowly. However, there was no obvious fragilification on his body. The contrast caused by such a scene was unexpected. For a while, Shen Zuo couldn't help worrying about the wind. The black stick in his hand gripped tighter. Shen Zuo has never seen a situation like Hefeng. Even those ninjas who came to Miamu Mountain to learn fairy skills. It has never been like the Zephyr now. What the hell is going on here? Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. For a while, on the contrary, he was a little panicked. Why is Hefeng like this? Hefeng doesn't care how people around him or the toad react. Now he is completely immersed in natural energy. He first refined a part of the interpillar chakra, then merged with the natural energy absorbed into the body, and turned it into something called Shanshu chakra. Hefeng could feel that his body was getting stronger bit by bit. Then, orange eyeshadow began to appear on the corners of his eyes. It's almost exactly the same as the perfect fairy mode of Uzumaki Naruto. Shen Zuo's eyes widened suddenly, and his eyes were attracted by the gentle eyes. For a moment, he was stunned on the spot. That change. Is it possible? Hefeng, this kid. Really, learned fairy art. And entered the fairy mode. Do not. Impossible. Shen Zuo shook his head, unable to accept this fact at all. It is absolutely impossible. Shanju is so difficult ninjutsu. How many people are too poor for their entire lives? Advertisement. A kid like Hefeng who is only 7 years old. How could it be possible to learn the fairy mode all at once? Rao is himself, it took decades to achieve his current achievements. As a result, he was surpassed by a 7-year-old kid casually. This kind of thing is too outrageous. Shen made 2 toads whose eyes stared like bull's eyes. It really cannot accept this fact. However, Hefeng was born in its shock and entered the most perfect fairy mode. Soon. Hefeng slowly opened his eyes and blinked. I don't know if it was his illusion. When he looked at Shen Zuo and others again, his vision changed significantly. Is this the frog's eye? Although the frog eye is not as powerful as the pupil technique of writing round eye, white eye, and reincarnation eye, it is worse than human eyes. Especially in this fairy mode. It makes the Japanese style feel incredible. He could feel that a steady stream of power was emerging from his body. Is this the fairy mode? Hefeng couldn't help but sigh with emotion. And the toad Wentai standing behind him, the whole toad was dumbfounded, unable to accept the scene in front of him. It took a deep breath, and asked Shenzuo, Shenzuo, he should be gentle, shouldn't it? Have you really learned the magic? Even Toad Bunta's voice couldn't stop shaking. Toad is too text to understand. Even more unacceptable. It's terrible. No matter how you look at it, Hefeng has indeed entered the fairy mode. Moreover, Shen Zuo's perception of chakra has always been great. In this mode, only the eyes are frog-like, it's almost. Are all the little ghosts in the human world such scary guys? Because of this news, Toad's heart is really shocking. Ah, this. Shen Zuo was stunned in place, speechless for a moment, not knowing what to say. Shen Zuo was completely shocked by his natural talent. I didn't even dare to try a fairy technique. Terrible. It took a long time to squeeze out such a complete sentence. It's perfect. After repeated confirmation, Hefeng's body is indeed filled with a large number of Shanshu chakras. Just like this, I learned it in a blink of an eye. Humanity. Chapter 204 Deep Stress Response 1 more. Advertisement. Outrageous. Shen Zuo can now think of the only words that describe his feelings. Outrageous. It's too ridiculous. Hefeng, are you sure you are not here to entertain Ben Toad? Just smearing toad oil, he mastered the fairy mode. And it's the perfect fairy model. Are you afraid that you didn't just open it up? Shen Zuo's chin was shocked as if he was about to fall to the ground. It has lived in Miamu Mountain for hundreds of years, but for decades. Whether it's a toad or a ninja, it has seen countless toads or people who want to learn immortality. However, even the most gifted toad, it took several years to master the chakra refining immortal technique. Result, Hefeng this human kid, and he was a human kid who was only 7 years old. It didn't take a few years, and it didn't take a few months. But in the blink of an eye, I mastered the fairy mode. This kind of thing is too outrageous. Outrageous, outrageous, all outrageous. Shen Zuo only feels that his mood is like the sea being swept by a tornado, the waves are rough and the waves are raging. Can't calm down all the time. Really, in the blink of an eye, learned the magic. I'm afraid it's not an illusion hit by the old man. Because it was too shocking, Shen Zuo's body directly activated the stress mode, and attributed all Hefeng's actions to hallucinations. Otherwise, how to explain? A 7-year-old kid who has learned fairy art casually. No way to explain. It must be the old lady of Shima. Shen Zuo nodded and comforted himself. This must be because the old lady of Jima secretly released illusions on herself in order to play with herself. As long as you realize this, there is nothing to worry about. As a result, Shen Zuo closed his eyes slightly, his hands imitated the appearance of human beings, and began to seal. Illusory. Solution. Shen Zuo opened his eyes abruptly and relieved the illusion on himself. Result. When he opened his eyes again, Hefeng still stood in front of him. Still, maintain the fairy mode. Those frog eyes seemed to mock his efforts over the years. Advertisement. The illusion hasn't been relieved. It shouldn't be. Although the old woman is also a master of illusion, her illusion has never been better than me. It makes no sense. I can't even crack its illusion. Shen Zuo lowered his head and muttered to himself. Because it was too shocked, it was now more willing to believe that the old lady of Jima had imposed extremely powerful illusions on herself. Yes, it is. For Shensuo, it is more willing to believe in what its brain fills out rather than the truth. Seeing Master Shenzuo's reaction, Toad Wen couldn't help taking a breath. Because when he was defeated by Hefeng just now, his reaction was exactly the same as that of Master Shenzuo now. The only difference is that I probably only suspected that I was not awake. Master Shenzuo suspected that he was hit by Master Jima's illusion. Shenzuo adults. Toad Wen spoke too slowly, trying to make Shenzuo understand that it actually didn't have any magic tricks at all. Because no matter how powerful the breeze is, it is impossible for it to create an illusion that will pull everyone into the world of illusion in an instant. No illusion. Shenzuo blinked. In fact, as long as it calms down a little bit, it can be judged. It was just the gentle performance that made it impossible to calm down for a while. Now after Toad Wentai's reminder, Shenzuo slowly realized. Myself. There is really no illusion in it. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi, but the human kid in front of me is terrifying. It's not just deep work. Now all the toads gathered here in Miamu Mountain, one counts as one, and they are all dumbfounded. No one believed willing, and the wind only took a few breaths. Mastered the fairy mode. This is a ninjutsu that even Master Shenzuo took many years to master. As a result, he was easily learned by a human imp. Who can accept it? No one can accept it. Don't talk about these toads who have long known Shanshu. It's Sun Zan and others on the side. At this time, it was also in a state of ignorance. Can anyone explain? What's the situation now? Didn't Shenzuo say that Shanshu is both difficult and full of danger? Even many toads, many people. Can't you pry into the doorway for a lifetime? If you are not careful, you will turn into a stone statue. Complete integration with nature. Result. That's it. In the blink of an eye, Hefeng learned the magic. Advertisement. And listen to what Shenzuo said. Hefeng seems to have opened the most perfect fairy mode. Are you kidding me? Is Shanshu so simple? Rizan rolled his throat and started to think. Could it be that there is a cognitive barrier between toads and humans? For example, for humans, it is very simple. When it comes to the toads, it becomes very difficult. Because it was really unacceptable, even Sun Slash started to make up for what he didn't have. That, Master Shenzuo, can you let me try it too? After a while, Rizan mustered up the courage. See Hefeng so simple to learn Shanshu. Rizan's inner curiosity and thirst for knowledge broke out at this moment. He took a deep breath, took 3 steps in 2 steps, walked in front of Shenzuo, and took off his clothes by the way. Seeing the breeze, he subconsciously took a step back to make room for Rizan. You too. Shenzuo looked up and down Sun Slash. The gentle breeze just now made it all shocked to have a stress response. Now that he sees Sun Slash, the feeling of Shenzuo can be said to be indescribable. If there is another human being to learn immortality easily, then it has always been aware of Shanshu, it is really going to collapse. No, it's impossible. Shenzuo began to hypnotize himself in his heart, and the wind is an alien, a monster. It is impossible for every human being like him to easily learn immortality. The situation just now must be an accident. Shanshu is difficult. It's really tough. Even for himself, it took decades to reach the current level. And, it's not the most perfect fairy technique. In other words, Hefeng surpassed his decades of hard work in just a moment. This kind of thing simply negates the meaning of effort itself. For the current deep work, someone really needs someone to help him re-establish his understanding of fairy art. So, it repeated its old tricks and smeared the toad oil on the arm of Sarutobi Hizen, letting him feel the natural energy. Soon, Sarutobi Hizen begins to imitate the movements of the Japanese wind. With the help of the power of toad oil, Rizan easily felt the natural energy, and then absorbed it into his body. Next second, his body began to swell. There is a clear froggification. And watching Sun Zan's deep work began to swell, he screamed in excitement. I knew it. It's not that easy to learn Shanshu. Chapter 205. I'm afraid you are not teasing the old man. 2 more. Advertisement. Seeing the obvious frog transformation on Rizan's body, Shenzuo's mood suddenly improved a lot. It's the first time it should absorb natural energy. Excited, he made a deep kick on his hind legs, jumped up from the ground, waved the black stick in his hand, and slapped it fiercely towards Sun Zan, knocking out all the natural energy in his body. Rizan only felt a sharp pain, and sat on the ground with a thump. His eyes widened. Just when he was absorbing natural energy, he almost thought he was dead. Really? Too dangerous. Rizan rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. Until now, his brain has been scared for a while. Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan were even more attracted by the reaction of Sun Slash. What's wrong, Sun Slash? Danzo couldn't help asking. He has always regarded Rizan as his competitor on the spot. It can be said that Danzo is the one who knows Sun Slash best among these people. It never occurred to him that just experiencing natural energy would make him show such an expression. Is it possible? Is Shanshu really that terrible? Thinking of this, Danzo raised his head and glanced at Hefeng. Obviously, peace is easy in this matter. It doesn't matter, Sun Slash. Xiaochun and Yan stepped forward quickly, helped Rizan from the ground, and cared about his condition. Rizan breathed heavily. Regarding the precise control of chakra, although Rizan could not be as powerful as the Thousand Hands clan, in the village, it was also regarded as a leader among the younger generation. It also has the ability to perceive chakras. Even if you can't do it as easy as a breeze. At least it should be better than ordinary people. Even Rizin once suspected that humans and toads viewed chakra from different angles. Result: when he absorbs natural energy, it turned out that the part that was smeared with toad oil was like a gap in the dam. The natural energy around me is like a flood, frantically flooding into the gap. Enter your body. No matter how you resist, there is no way to squeeze the thing called natural energy out of one's body. Natural energy is increasing. It made me feel desperate for a while. Only after experiencing it personally, did Rizan realize how terrifying natural energy is. If it weren't for Master Shen Zuo's timely shot, he would use a black stick to knock the natural energy out of his body. I'm afraid I will become a stone statue. When thinking of this possibility, Rizan felt scared. Advertisement. This is the horrible thing about Shanshu. Upon seeing this, Shen felt relieved. This is what a normal person will encounter when learning immortality. I want to try it. Xiaochun gritted his teeth, hesitated for a moment, and then took a step. Because she knew there was a relationship with Haibang, she was not so worried. However, because Xiaochun is a girl, she naturally wouldn't take off all her tops, but just exposed her snow-white forearms and smeared toad oil. Start to absorb natural energy. The result can be imagined. Bang! Shen Zuo jumped up and waved the black stick, knocking down Xiaochun. Then, inflammation. Danzo. Have tried a lot. The results are all the same. When he realized the natural energy, this thing crazily corroded his body, trying to make himself a part of nature. If it is not for deep work, I'm afraid they will all be destroyed here. Natural energy, it's terrible. However, they soon realized a serious horror. Just natural energy is terrible to this point. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi then. How terrible is it to master the breeze of Shanshu with ease? Even the forces of nature are easily mastered by him. This kind of thing is too outrageous. For a time, Rizan really didn't know what to say. I can't find any words to describe this mood. Hefeng, this guy, is it really a human? Why can he be so outrageous? It's just ninjutsu and physique. It's fine to explain with the wizards of Tianzong. Why is Hefeng so shocking in terms of Shanshu? In other words, does Hefeng really have any shortcomings? No. There are no shortcomings. Even height. The gentle breeze is much higher than those of the same age. Look, he has inherited the advantages of Zujian and Mito brilliantly. After only a few years, he can already see his outline. Advertisement. Unless the Zephyr in the future starts to overeating and eats himself into a big fat man of 200 caddies. Otherwise, his looks will undoubtedly be one of the best handsome guys in Konoha village. Just like Hefeng's devil training method. Don't talk about getting fat. When he grows up, I'm afraid it's not 8-pack abs and bronze skin. Thinking about the adult gentle breeze, Xiaochun's heart is a little crazy. Why was I born so many years earlier than Hefeng? Hateful. It's horrible. The sights of Sun Zan and others were all focused on Hefeng. Shen Zuo couldn't help turning his head and looked at the monster again. I have to admit that among the people the old man has ever met, your talent is the scariest one. At this age, and in such a short period of time, I have mastered immortality. I am afraid that in the next few hundred years, thousands of years, there will be no such horrible genius as you. Shen Zuo praised the Japanese style. Now, it has to believe in the facts before its eyes. Zephyr is a genius, and he is also a genius with no one before and no one to come. But, however, Shen Zuo suddenly changed the subject. Up to now, many emotions such as persuading resignation, worry, etc., have all been swept away by the talent shown by Hefeng. Shen Zuo is the only thing I want to do now. It is to teach the true fairy arts to the Japanese style. But what? Hefeng tilted his head and asked with interest. The reason why you were able to enter the fairy mode just now was because of the use of toad oil. But, toad oil is our specialty of Miamu Mountain. Just leave here, you can't get the oil here. In other words, this immortal mode, which relies on toad oil to enter, can only be regarded as a semi-finished product. Shen Zuo explained to the Japanese style. Only by entering the fairy mode without the help of external force such as toad oil, can one truly learn the fairy art. However, if you don't use the power of toad oil to perceive natural energy, it must be integrated with nature. This also means that after the breeze, there must be immobility training. As a creature, it is actually very difficult to achieve immobility. But don't worry, gentle, I will always urge you. Do you have anything else to say? At the end, he added a deep sentence. Hefeng and Shen Zuo looked at each other, and said a sentence that made his heart crazy. If I said, I don't need toad oil to enter the fairy mode, do you believe it? Shen Zuo, you are afraid that you are not teasing me. Chapter 206 Uchiha Madara appears. 3 more. Advertisement. Normal people cannot perceive natural energy. This is common sense in the ninja world. Even the Kagura's eyes of the Uzumaki clan could only perceive chakra. Unable to perceive natural energy. In other words, no matter how gentle the wind is, it is a wizard. It is impossible for him to enter the fairy mode without resorting to toad oil. Because he cannot perceive the existence of natural energy. Only by integrating with nature can natural energy be discovered. This is the prerequisite for entering the fairy mode. It is the most important thing. Hefeng, I know, mastering the fairy model gives you confidence, but there is a big difference between toad oil and no toad oil. Shen Zuyu focuses on teaching and style. I hope he doesn't think of the fairy model so simple. Only by correcting the mentality can we learn fairy skills better. Do not. However, in the face of Shen Zuo's painstaking efforts, Hefeng shook his head and denied without even thinking about it. Then, the gentle breeze wiped the toad oil on his arm under the eyes of everyone. Now I can really enter the fairy mode without using toad oil. While talking with the breeze, he restored the chakra that had just been refined into a normal chakra. Frog eyes and orange eyeshadow disappeared from his face. Accompanied by the gentle breeze, Shen Zuo's heart almost touched his throat. Hefeng, this kid, wouldn't it be possible to enter the fairy mode without the help of toad oil? Do not. Impossible. Deep Force shook his head, like a rattle. Just relying on toad oil to enter the fairy mode is exaggerated enough. Hefeng is absolutely impossible to succeed. But, although Shen Zuo warned himself this way, in his heart, he had a little expectation of Hefeng. Perhaps, Hefeng is really so shocking. Rizhen, Danzo, Xiaochun, Yan, the eyes of the four were deeply attracted by the gentle wind. After wiping off the toad oil on their bodies, none of them could perceive natural energy. It's like this kind of thing, it has never existed before. Only then did they realize how difficult it is to practice immortality. Yup, toad oil is only the first step. Advertisement. The real problem is yet to come. Hefeng took a deep breath, ignoring the people around him. Although he got the fairy mode from the punch card package, it is still the perfect version of Naruto. But he could not break the original rules. To enter the fairy mode, one must absorb natural energy. Toad oil just helped him reduce the difficulty. Now that there is no toad oil, one must integrate with nature in order to perceive natural energy. So he sat cross-legged on the ground, his eyes closed. Originally, he thought that it would take some time for him to enter the state. But in fact, the so-called immovability is like a kind of muscle memory to the current Zephyr. When he realized this in his heart, his body naturally achieved the immobility effect. It blends perfectly with the surrounding nature. Natural energy that does not exist like air. Now he is fully surrounded by Hefeng. The difference from toad oil is that I, the only one, absorbed a steady stream of natural energy through the gap opened by the toad oil. Now every pore on my body can absorb natural energy. As long as the amount of natural energy is accurately controlled, combined with the chakra, the fairy chakra is produced. My body won't turn into a stone statue. The knowledge and experience in this area are all stored in Hefeng's brain. Read more at hotmtl novel.zi. Soon, he absorbed enough natural energy to combine with the chakra between the pillars to produce the fairy chakra. Accompanied by the gentle breeze once again refining Shanshu chakra, his body naturally entered the fairy mode. Around the corners of the eyes, orange eyeshadow appeared again. Watching his every move deeply, his eyes slowly straightened. Then came its nerves, and its chin began to sink involuntarily, as if it would fall to the ground at any time. Call out. Suddenly, Hefeng opened his eyes suddenly, and his eyes became frog eyes again. It is still the most perfect fairy mode. Deeply made the whole toad, completely dumbfounded. Don't bring this to play. Toad oil alone is exaggerated and outrageous. Result. Hefeng really has mastered the fairy mode casually. How is this possible? However, Hefeng stood in front of Shensuo in this way. How did this fellow Hefeng do it? Toad when on the side couldn't help but complain. It always thought that he was already very genius. Compared with Hefeng now, I don't even seem to be a fart. The sweat that I have been working hard for so many years, what is the point? Advertisement. Shen Zuo is speechless and asks the sky. Why is there such a shocking genius in this world? It only took less than 5 minutes, and it far surpassed my 50 years of hard work. The most important thing is, how big is Hefeng this year? Only 7 years old, if you give him some more time. Where should he grow? It's unimaginable. At this moment, Shen Zuo only felt that his own cognition had completely collapsed, and Sun Zan and others who came to Miamu Mountain with Hefeng. The mood at this time is very delicate. They looked up and down the breeze, speechless for a while. Why is the gap between people so big? At the same time, right at the entrance of Miamu Mountain, a man wearing a mask suddenly stopped. He raised his head and looked directly at the scenery in front of him, with his hands around his chest, and muttered to himself, finally here, Miamu Mountain. It took me a lot of time to get here. But there is no doubt that this is the most suitable opportunity to get rid of the wind. No matter who, my patriarch, my best friend, my love, my child. None can stop my Moon Eye project. Yes it is. The man masked by this man is not someone else, just Uchiha Madara. He wanted to wait until Zujian passed away, and then attack Hefeng. But his growth rate is too amazing, it is beyond Uchiha Madara's control. Worried that he will become his own confidant, Uchiha Madara decided to do it before he learned celestial arts. Although in order to hide my whereabouts, this time I used the technique of the transformation, only 30% of my body's power. But it should be enough to deal with a 7-year-old kid like Hefeng. Whether it's Konoha's ninja or Miamushin's toad. Just leave one alone. Uchiha Madara settled his attention in his heart, and then stepped forward into the depths of MT. Miaugi. Looking for a gentle breeze. Between the pillars, sorry. Your grandson, I can no longer let it go. Chapter 207 The Technique of Elephant Turn, one more, Happy New Year. Advertisement. After feeling the terrible talent of the gentle breeze, Uchiha Madara made up his mind. Get rid of him while he loses the protection between the pillar and the door. Hefeng, this kid, can't let it go anymore. But Uchiha Madara did not go from behind the scenes to the front desk. On the one hand, it is related to his current body. On the other hand, Hefeng is indeed very talented and has defeated many strong players, such as Golden Horns and Silver Horns, Ghost Lights and Moon. But these ninjas are only considered strong in the eyes of others. In the eyes of Uchiha Madara, they are just mere gravel, not as good as themselves. Looking at the entire ninja world, the only ninja who could break his wrists was Senjujujuma. In other words, with Hefeng's current strength, he didn't need to use his full strength at all. Just my clone is enough to get rid of the wind. The Uchiha Madara that appears in MT Myoki today is not a real Madara. It's a clone created by the technique of revolving the image. It is a kind of ninjutsu in which Uchiha Madara distributes his chakras to living sacrifices. The only drawback is that when the amount of chakras allocated is exhausted, a ninja who is served as a sacrifice will die. But the offerings used by Uchiha Madara are actually a large number of shirasu. Even death does not matter. With Uchiha Madara's current power, he only allocated 30% of his chakra. Although it is only 30% of the chakra volume, it is no problem for me to release the power of the eternal kaleidoscope. Even the genius kid Hefeng. In front of my complete body, I will only be vulnerable. Uchiha Madara thought to himself. In the final analysis, the Mudun of Hefeng today is far from the peak period of the heyday between the pillars. It is impossible to contend with his own Suzuo Nangu. At the same time, all the toads of Miamu Mountain went to the Toad Oil Waterfall to watch the excitement. Therefore, Uchiha Madara did not encounter obstacles from the toads. He maximized his ability to perceive chakra. He quickly locked the position of Hefeng. Found it. Madara Uchiha kicked his feet and jumped high, moving towards the Toad Oil Waterfall. When he arrived here, Hefeng had just closed the fairy mode. After all, he just proved to Shenzuo that he could freely start the fairy mode without resorting to Toad Oil. Advertisement. It's not about fighting with anyone. Finally found you. Uchiha Madara descended from the sky and stood firm. The handsome appearance instantly attracted the eyes of all toads. Then it was Sun Slash, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan, who turned to look at the person who came. Because Uchiha Madara left the village a long time ago. So Hisaki and others have only heard of Uchiha Madara's name. I haven't met Uchiha Madara himself. The only mirror who knew about Uchiha Madara was not in this team now. Immediately afterwards, Toad Wentai, Shenzuo, and Hefeng turned to look at the person who came. Spot. Zefeng blinked, his brain buzzed, a little blank. He never dreamed that he would encounter the legendary Spot in a place like Miamu Mountain. Logically speaking, shouldn't he hide in the cracks of darkness now, waiting for the arrival of the soil? How could he come here? He is not worried. He has no news of his death. Will he be known by the pillars? However, such an idea just emerged. The breeze reacted. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. In this world, there is only one kind of person who can keep secrets. Dead, since Uchiha Madara did not appear here wearing a mask. That means, he, Uchiha Madara, doesn't plan to stay alive. It's really Uchiha Madara, totally different from the style of acting with soil. Hefeng thought to himself. It is true that only Uchiha who brings the soil, the kind of guy with no hard power, needs all kinds of means to disguise himself. As for the real Uchiha Madara, where do you need so many bells and whistles? Just do it and you are done. Presumably, Madara should be directed at me this time. Hefeng's eyes condensed slightly, and he looked up and down spotted, and analyzed the possibility. Yes it is. Rizhin, Danzo, Xiaochun, and Yan. The four of them have indeed become Konoha bosses in the future. Quan Qing Konoha. But in the eyes of Uchiha Madara, what are these guys up to? Nothing counts. As for the toad of MT Miyagi, he has no grievances against Uchiha Madara. Advertisement. Obviously there is no intersection. Exclude all the impossible, then the remaining possibilities, no matter how impossible they seem. It's the only answer. Uchiha Madara, this time I am here for myself. Thinking of this, Hefeng's eyes sharpened. Although he knew that Madara's goal was himself, Hefeng was not afraid. If Uchiha Madara started it earlier, I might still be afraid of him. But now, I have learned the magic of immortality. Earth-shaking changes have taken place in strength. Furthermore, my wind escape spiral shuriken is also completely completed. I really don't have anything to be afraid of when I really start. Of course, even though Hefeng thought so, he was not in a hurry to start. Ninja. Hizen blinked and looked at Uchiha Madara. I don't know if it was his own illusion, he actually felt a strong sense of oppression from Uchiha Madara's body. This man is not simple. In fact, it's not just them. The toads of Miamu Mountain also suddenly became nervous. Although we at Miamushin welcome to find the ninja here, this man exudes an unknown aura. Shenzuo half squinted his eyes and sensed the danger from Madara's body. And Uchiha Madara also didn't rush to solve the piece. Intend. Uchiha Madara's low-pitched voice exudes a strong aura. He looked around, checking the number of toads around him. Then, Uchiha Madara's gaze fell on Hizen and others. Danzo couldn't help frowning. He really hadn't seen a ninja with an arrogant tone like Uchiha Madara. These Konoha imps are without exception, and all the doubts of, who is this, written on their faces. For a time, Danzo's hands were sealed, as if Uchiha Madara made a move decisively. Gives his strength, adds a touch of color. It seems that I have been away from the village for too long, and people have gradually forgotten it. And his hair is swaying in the breeze. For his own Moon Eye plan, he didn't plan to leave anything alive. There is no escape at all. I don't deserve to know my name at all. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Kill him directly. What? In his opinion, he Breeze is now a soft-shelled turtle in the urn. But it doesn't matter, little ghosts like you who are about to die here. Chapter 208 are you. Uchiha Madara. 2 more. Advertisement. Although he didn't know what the ninja was in front of him, Danzo felt the danger from him. So, with the mentality of starting first, Danzo decisively chose to shoot. I saw Dan Zhang quickly forming seals on both hands, releasing the wind escape that he is best at. 3 wind blades flew towards Uchiha Madara quickly. Whether it is speed or timing, Danzo considers himself perfect. But who knows, the ninja in front of him easily avoided his ninjutsu with just a slip. Sandao Kazabane passed by Uchiha Madara and hit the toad stone statue behind him. Bang, bang, bang. Along with the loud noises, Danzo's wind escape ninjutsu left a shocking attack under the stone statue. Even Sun Slash was quite surprised. The wind of Danzo has become stronger. After natural Danzo was defeated by the wind, he practiced his ninjutsu day and night. Although he doesn't think his efforts can catch up with monsters like Hefeng, at least. Danzo doesn't want to be able to do anything when he meets the enemy again. It is precisely because of this mentality that he took the lead in launching an attack. However, the ninjutsu that made Sarutobi Hitoshi feel surprised was a pediatric trick in the eyes of Uchiha. Even he didn't open the writing wheel, and the speed of his hands was very slow. That Jayan is Huo done. Shen Zuo half squinted his eyes. Danzo and Madara's sudden match made him unexpected, but he has reached this point. Shen Zuo naturally has no reason to sit idly by. Wen Tai. With a deep roar, Madara's fire escape was handed over to Toad Wenta to deal with it. Although Toad Wentai is not yet an adult, its strength is already one of the best on Miamu Mountain. Especially its water escape. It is quite powerful. Even if it is a human ninja, in the ninjutsu matchup, it is impossible to compare with Toad Bunta. Furthermore, Shui Dun has the ability to restrain fire. Although Shen Zuo is only a toad, it has participated in human wars more than once. For the restraint between ninjutsu, it is quite familiar. And Toad Wentai said nothing. Fearing that it would affect Hizen and others, it simply kicked on its hind legs and used its explosive power to jump high and stagnate in the air. It aimed at Uchiha Madara below and took a big breath. Condense his chakra to his throat. Then, Toad Wen patted his stomach too hard. Shui Dun Tai Pao Yu. Advertisement. Soon, a huge water ball was spit out from Toad Bunta's mouth and rushed towards Uchiha Madara. If it is an adult Toad Wentai, the power of this ninjutsu can even be comparable to the wind escape of the tail beast Shuhei. Even the current Wentai. Its water escape is also quite terrifying in the eyes of Rizhin and others. A toad can actually use such a scale of water escape. Rizan rubbed his eyes vigorously, seriously wondering if he had seen something wrong. The diameter of the water polo is at least nearly 10 meters exaggerated. That toad's water escape is almost as good as Master Shujian, some of them. For a while, Rizan couldn't help feeling sympathy for the ninja with fluttering hair. What do you say you provoke him for? Is this all right? If that level of water escape is smashed down, I'm afraid it will be directly washed away. Rizan seemed to have foreseen that picture of long hair fluttering and being beaten up. However, what made Rizan never dreamed of? Facing Toad Fumata's full blow, Uchiha Madara's expression did not change at all, and he was still lingering in Jayan. Then, Uchiha Madara's back leaned back, imitating Toad Bunta's appearance, took a breath, and then released his own fire escape. Even knowing that Mizuden has the ability to restrain fire, Uchiha Madara still gave up this ninjutsu. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Fire escape, extinguish the fire. In fact, the art of Zhang Zhuan only allows the sacrifice to obtain 30% of the chakra of Uchiha Madara's body, rather than the 30% strength of the body. In other words, Uchiha Madara's fire escape is still the arrogant fire that actually needs more than 20 water escape ninjas to stop. For a time, the huge fire with an exaggerated diameter of only a few tens of meters rolled forward. In sharp contrast, Toad Wentai's iron cannon jade is not enough to see. Whether it is the toad of Miamu Mountain, or the others. All at this moment, standing on the spot. That huge ball of water was even more submerged in the sea of flames. Ninjutsu restraint. Sorry. Doesn't exist at all. Such a scene made Shen Zuo feel scalp numb. Miamu Mountain, how come such a terrifying monster came? Fast. In a hurry, Shen Zuo hurriedly ordered more toads to use Shui Dun together. About 30 or 40 toads used the water escape together, barely equal to the power of Uchiha Madara's fire escape. Wow, water and fire are incompatible with each other. They collide strongly and produce white steam, which rolls towards the sky and rises. Advertisement. This is Uchiha Madara's power. Kaukas blinked, only to feel that the current Uchiha Madara seemed to be stronger than when he was reincarnated from the dirty soil. It seems that Uchiha Madara really wants to get rid of me this time. But, Rao is the current Uchiha Madara, and it is not easy to solve himself. I not only mastered the fairy art, but also had the skill of writing round eyes. No matter how bad it is, you can still retreat with the technique of Flying Thunder God. Based on this and that kind of whole cards, Hefeng doesn't worry much about his situation now. Even the opposite. Zefeng's mood began to rise. Although his current body is only 7 years old, his strength cannot be underestimated. He now wants to be with a strong like Uchiha Madara. Give it a hand. Therefore, Hefeng did not choose to escape, but his eyes began to become feverish. Be prepared. Wow. The ninjutsu collision between Uchiha Madara and Toad slowly stopped with the sound of steam volatilizing. But, this made him think of the legendary man who could be as famous as the Senjujuma. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar. However, Uchiha Madara did not have any taboos about his own name, but directly admitted it. In the ninja world, it is very rare to be able to perform such a terrifying fire escape ninjutsu. Are you? And many more. For a time, I was deeply puzzled. But, read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. That Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara. Shinsaku's eyes widened suddenly, and he started to look up and down Uchiha Madara. Although these toads blocked Uchiha Madara's fire escape, they were shocked by his strength. No, it's impossible, Uchiha Madara, isn't it dead already? Hizen said incredulously. Why does it appear in this Miamu mountain? Especially the human ninjas like Sun Slash, they know too well what this name means. Isn't that man dead? But in order to confirm its guess, it couldn't help but ask the man in front of it. Chapter 209 I need some time, 3 more. Advertisement. Hefeng took 2 steps back silently. Although his current strength is one of the best in the entire ninja world, he hasn't swelled to the point where he rushes forward when facing a top powerhouse like Uchiha Madara. It's just a little bit worse. Hefeng couldn't help feeling that if Uchiha Madara appeared for a while, he would not dismiss the fairy mode. It's good now. It's time to absorb natural energy again. And, my fairy mode is the Naruto version. Unlike the pillars, I can open the fairy mode in seconds. It is necessary to stay still in order to absorb natural energy and extract the Shanshu chakra. Master Shen Zuo, I need some time. Hefeng Shongshan said. Regardless of his reaction, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to absorb the natural energy around him. Taking a deep glance at Hefeng's actions, he immediately realized what he was doing. Facing a powerful enemy like Uchiha Madara, the fairy model of the gentle wind will play a vital role. On the contrary, it was Rizhin and others. At this time, all their nerves were stretched, and their jaws seemed to fall to the ground at any time in surprise. They didn't even dream of it. You will encounter Uchiha Madara who has died in MT. Miyauki. This kind of thing. It's a fantasy. However, the majestic fire just now is extremely consistent with Uchiha Madara's identity. Except for Uchiha Madara, I really can't think of anyone who can release such a terrifying fire escape. Rizan clenched his fists with both hands. Even he himself could not release such a terrible fire escape. Tuan Zhang was dumbfounded, and didn't know what to do for a while. Even if Hefeng possesses a talent that shocks the world, he can easily learn Shanshu. But compared to top powerhouses like Uchiha Madara, there is still a certain gap. We will die. Danzo couldn't help but speak to his companions around him. He seemed to have foreseen his death. Xiaochun and Yan began to tremble in their legs, losing their fighting spirit for a while. This is the reputation of Uchiha Madara. Just a name deterred Rizhin and others. Don't panic. Upon seeing this, the toad said to every ninja in the presence of anger. Advertisement. Even Uchiha Madara has nothing to panic. While talking, Shen Zuo put his hands together and began to refine chakra. Although his Shanshu is not as perfect as Hefeng, it is also a very strong level. The most important thing is that the speed of deep work to refine the chakra is much faster than the gentle wind. Seeing this, the other toads boosted their morale again, and then rushed towards Uchiha Madara. What we have to do now is to buy time for Hefeng. Toad Hero said while pulling out the double knives from his body and slashing towards Uchiha Madara. Although Hefeng is only a 7-year-old human imp, but now that he has learned the fairy mode. And it's a more perfect fairy model than Shen Zuo adults. That shows that the strength of Hefeng is very strong. Now they only need to delay Uchiha Madara, and don't let him disturb the wind, they will have a chance of winning. The toad of Miamu Mountain. Uchiha looked at the toads rushing towards him. He thought that these toads had heard his reputation. Will flee in fright, unexpectedly, since they played a boring game. After all, Hefeng is just a 7-year-old kid. His talent is indeed terrifying. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi, but now he is obviously not his opponent. Get out of me. Uchiha Madara took a step forward, and at the same time he grabbed a fist with his 5 fingers, and hit the toad's stomach in one hand. Although Uchiha Madara does not blame power, but his physical skills are also very strong. Facing the siege of dozens of toads, Uchiha Madara is like a dancer, she can free. Either dodge or counterattack the toads' attacks. After 5 or 6 could not breathe, a dozen toads flew out, hit the stone statue aside, fell heavily to the ground, and fainted on the spot without even having time to hum. Among them, Toad Broad. Seeing the power displayed by Uchiha Madara, Hisake and others felt their scalp tingling even more. There is so much difference in the strength of the two sides that it is impossible to fight at all. Stop it. Toad Fumoda pulled out the short knife on his waist and slammed it down towards Uchiha Madara. Court death. Uchiha Madara raised his head and glanced at the falling toad. He raised his head, closed his eyes and opened his eyes, and his jet-black pupils instantly turned into blood red. The 3 Guyu Jade shook like a shock, directly pulling the toad Wentai into the world of illusion. In this world, the size of human beings has become extremely huge. His brother Toad Guang directly became steamed. Advertisement. The Toad key is braised in brown sauce. I am being grabbed by humans in an attempt to be spicy. In the real world, Toad Wen was so huge that he leaned forward and fell down rumblingly. Seeing what happened, Hizen glanced back at the breeze that absorbed natural energy. When he saw the pair of riding wheel eyes, Rizan completely confirmed Madara's identity. At the same time he also realized. Now, it is obviously impossible to escape in front of Uchiha Madara. His strength is too strong. Even if he runs, he will only catch up. Then, Sarutobi slashed his heart, then bit his thumb to perform spiritism. Bang! With a loud noise and a cloud of white fog, the young demon suddenly appeared. Before it could figure out the situation, Rizan kicked his feet and rushed out from where he was, and then ordered the monkey demon to become a wishful diamond rod. Although the monkey demon was at a loss at this time, it still faithfully followed it, turning into a diamond rod and flew into the hands of Rizan. A kid from the Sarutobi clan. Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed slightly, and he recognized the identity of Sun Zan at a glance by virtue of Sun Zan's psychic skills. But, the Sarutobi clan just wanted to block me. It's just a dream. I saw Uchiha Madara grabbing the oncoming diamond rod, and with a slight force, he lifted the sun slash from the ground, and then threw it away without even looking. Now Uchiha Madara has only one idea. That is to solve the harmony. As for the others, it is not too late to wait until later to kill them. Danzo, Kaharu, and Yan were trembling directly by Uchiha Madara's power. Immobile. Spot. At the critical moment, he still refined enough Shanshu chakra, kicked on his hind legs, rushed to Madara, clenched the frog's claws tightly, and swung it out like a human. Unexpectedly, a toad would dare to challenge me. As soon as Uchiha Madara's voice fell, his eyes directly upgraded into an eternal kaleidoscope. Suzuo Nengu. Show up. Rumble. Shinsaku's fist directly hit the chakra surrounding Uchiha Madara, bursting out a terrifying air current, spreading out in all directions. Chapter 210. You have opened a plugin. One more. Advertisement. Madara Uchiha, who opened the eternal kaleidoscope, can clearly see the flow of chakras in others. Although the deep work rushing up on the head is much smaller than other toads, its chakra volume is surprisingly amazing. This chakra is exactly the same as between the columns. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank slightly, directly realizing his own chakra. In an instant, the majestic chakra emerged from him. From a distance, it was like a dark blue flame enveloping Uchiha Madara. Immediately afterwards, in this chakra, bones visible to the naked eye began to emerge, protecting Uchiha Madara's body. Surprisingly, Suzuo Nengu, what's the matter with that chakra? Shen Zuo was shocked suddenly, but the movement of his hands couldn't stop, and he slammed Suzuo Nohu's body with a punch. Bang! The horrible air flow burst out from the hit point of the deep work, and instantly lifted it out. And Uchiha Madara's Susanoo is still intact. Rao's punch from Shen Zuo Shanshu chakra couldn't break the defense of Suzuo Nengu. All the toads who witnessed this scene showed incredible gazes. Although Lord Shen Zuo is short in size, its strength is the top existence of the entire Miamu mountain. As a result, even its power can't help the ninja in front of you. Even the power of Master Shen Zuo can't shake this guy. What's the matter with his chakra? This is the first time I have seen such a terrifying chakra. And the Huo Dun he just used, the power is even more shocking, and even when Tai's water dun can't compete. For a time, unprecedented fear shrouded Miamu mountain. Let the toads here undoubtedly not take a breath, and regard this incident as the biggest crisis Miamu mountain has encountered in history. Uchiha Madara is terrible. After a few rounds, everyone was shocked. This is the power of Uchiha Madara. It seems that some time was wasted. Madara Uchiha folded his arms around his chest and looked around at the toads lying on the ground and the little ghosts of Konoha. Next second, Uchiha Madara's eyes focused on Kazuka. Although it is not clear what the little ghost of the Zujian family is doing, he obviously hasn't let go of his plan. Call. The chakra wrapped around Uchiha Madara quickly grew taller. It was just a small piece of rib bone that continued to grow out of the head and shoulders. And from the position of the shoulder, the arm extends out. Advertisement. Wow. With a wave of one hand, Suzuo Nengu held a chakra knife with a weird shape in his hand. Whether it is my tribe, a close friend, or a child. As long as it is people who are in the way of my Moon Eye project, I will not let it go. To blame, I can only blame you for being too sharp and not knowing how to forbearance. Uchiha Madara muttered to himself in his heart, and then controlled Susanoo's power to point the chakra knife at the Hefeng Tianling cover, and slashed it down. Plan to end it all. But just at this critical moment. Gentle, finally absorbed enough natural energy, orange eyeshadow appeared at the corner of his eyes. In today's wind, even if you don't open your eyes, you don't use the ability of Kagura's heart. You can also feel Uchiha Madara's attack. Without any exaggeration. Uchiha Madara's slash is probably the strongest he has encountered so far. It really is Uchiha Madara. But, Hefeng suddenly got up, kicked on one foot, and dodged directly to the right. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Boom. With a loud noise, Susanoo's slash hit the position where the wind had originally been seated. The majestic force penetrated into the ground, smashing layer by layer, creating countless stones and spider web-like cracks. Did off. Uchiha frowned slightly, and he didn't have any water in his attack just now. With the mentality of killing Hefeng, he slashed out with all his strength. As a result, he was still avoided by the gentle wind. It's really worthy of being a kid who inherited the lineage between the pillars. But, Uchiha Madara didn't intend to give up. He did not hesitate to resort to the technique of the circumstance, just to kill the wind. This guy who might hinder his plans in the future. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara swept his heart and controlled Susanoo's movements, lifting the chakra sword from the center of the crack and sweeping it toward the breeze. Only this time, Hefeng did not choose to dodge. Speaking of which, even my sister Tsunade's Susanoo can be hardened. It doesn't make sense to my brother, no way. What's more, I am in the fairy mode now. Both power and defense have been increased. Hefeng still remembers that when Naruto entered the fairy mode, he fell from a height of tens of meters without any injuries. Advertisement. Pain's black stick was even more shattered by his palm. There is no reason to be here, so I want to fight. Because it is the first time to use the fairy mode, hasn't the mentality been reversed yet? The gentle breeze couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, chuckling that his combat thinking was wrong. Then, he swung a horse stance directly and looked directly at the oncoming chakra knife. This sudden scene made Uchiha Madara stunned. Observing carefully through the eternal kaleidoscope, he surprisingly discovered that Hefeng's body was full of Shanshu chakra. And the changes on his face before and after. It even reminded him of the fairy pattern between the pillars. Hefeng, this kid, won't he really learn the fairy arts, right? Just kidding, Hefeng, this kid, didn't he just come to Miamu Mountain? Madara Uchiha blinked the eternal kaleidoscope, a little unbelievable for a while. No matter how talented he is, there must be a limit. He has learned such things as Shanshu. Suddenly, Uchiha Madara felt that his cognition was severely impacted. Can't understand. He stared at the figure of Hefeng blankly. Really, the power of terror. This is the fairy mode. Uchiha Madara took a breath, unable to understand the facts before him. The breeze could not help but sigh. Especially Uchiha Madara. Such an exaggerated scene shocked everyone's soul. Unbelievable. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. This is impossible. A 7-year-old kid, relying on the most primitive brute force, stopped his Susao. Just when Uchiha Madara's heart was shocked by Hefeng's performance, Hefeng waved his hands and abruptly took the chakra sword that was swept toward him. Bang. Although it is not complete, this kind of thing is still too shocking. What kind of monster is this guy? Hefeng, this kid, let's open the plug-in. And the wind further explodes the muscle strength of the two arms. And he just stepped on the dirt with his back heel, took a few steps back, and with his majestic strength, he prevented Susanoo's attack.